In spring of 184. On the 9113th day of crossing the Eastern Han Dynasty. The weather is sunny. There are still 5 days left for storing food at home. We'll starve to death. The Yellow Turban Rebellion has already erupted. When will the gears of fate begin to turn to me? Just as Li Ji had written today's diary, the rumors about wise men finally attracted Liu Guanzhang's visit. However, when Li Ji used the strategy simulator to deduce how to smoothly become Liu Bei's mastermind, option 1. Indulge in the pursuit of capture, option 2. Battle of words, option 3. Bluff and show off, A verbal battle of 3 heroes. Keywords of the novel. 3 kingdoms. My strategy simulator, no pop-ups, 3 kingdoms. My strategy simulator complete collection download, 3 kingdoms. My strategy simulator latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Strategy simulator. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Strategy simulator. Shui County, Yuzhou Shui County, in the suburbs. Yawning, Li Ji lazily got up from the grass mat, grabbed his scattered hair, and casually tugged at various meanings of Hanfu on his body. Unfortunately, during the true end of the Eastern Han Dynasty, there were not as many vibrant colors as later generations, and what Li Ji wore was only a scholar's uniform that was almost undressed from washing. This was finally picked up by Li Ji from a dead soldier. On the 9113th day of crossing the Eastern Han Dynasty. The weather is sunny. There are still 5 days left for storing food at home. We'll starve to death. Seeking care, regardless of gender, regardless of height, fat, or weight. The Yellow Turban Rebellion has already erupted. When will the gears of fate begin to turn to me? Li Ji passed the boring time writing and painting on the wall next to the straw mat with charcoal, wiping it off while writing. At the beginning of his journey through the Eastern Han Dynasty, Li Ji was full of bold and powerful words, until the first time he went hungry. Li Ji was forced to remain silent. Then, due to his strange attire and unclear identity, Li Ji almost got arrested and was sent to prison to eat Mao Zhen chrysanthemum tea, almost talking nonsense. These 913 days of difficult survival allowed Li Ji to fully integrate into this era, and at the same time, he truly realized that in the late Eastern Han Dynasty, it was extremely difficult for the lower-class commoners, not to mention any promotion channels, even if they wanted to dig a bite in the ground. Strong as the ruthless Liu Guanzhang, when he was young, he didn't have the opportunity. Should he hold a bowl or should he hold a bowl? Should he ask for a reward from Big Brother Bang or a reward from Big Brother Bang? Therefore, Li Ji, who deeply understands that opportunities are more important than anything else, did not rush to do anything unnecessary. Instead, he waited for opportunities in the place he had chosen, while ensuring basic food and clothing as much as possible. Suddenly, Li Ji paused his lazy gaze from time to time, staring at the 3 figures that appeared in the distance. Liu Bei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei. Here we go. Li Ji's heart beat fiercely, realizing that this was the best opportunity he could seize at the current stage. Among the many feudal lords at the end of the Han Dynasty, Chao Lusan, who was not one of the 3 royal families with a promising future, not only had some major flaws, but more importantly, had extremely serious family views. Children of humble families, rise up, it's difficult. Even talented individuals like Guo Jiana are not valued by Yuan Shao, who has been known as the 4 generations and 3 princes. Among the 3 royal families, Cao Cao may only be capable and indifferent to his humble status, but the true core of the Cao Cao group is undoubtedly always the Cao clan. Even Sun Yu, who assisted Cao Cao in his rise, did not end well. Coupled with Cao Cao's later paranoia, Li Ji was very worried that the retirement pension he had worked hard for half his life would actually make the Cao clan enjoy it. Relatively speaking, Liu Bei's early and middle periods may have been extremely difficult, but his ability to entrust all affairs of a country to the hands of an outsider like Zhuge Liang shows his broad-mindedness and benevolent nature. As for the Sun family of Dongwu, Well, besides the eldest lady, let's not say anything. As the Fortune 500 companies all say, we only look at our abilities and not our education, but we will definitely not recruit from non-prestigious universities. So more importantly, with Li Ji's current identity as a black man, he can't even be considered a humble family, so naturally the only potential stock he can access is Liu Bei. In the next moment, Li Ji seemed to have rehearsed countless times in advance, but in just a few breaths, he managed to tidy up his originally unkempt image and looked like a great hermit. Immediately after, Li Ji seemed indifferent, but in reality, he turned his back to the door with a lot of scheming, propping his head up with his arms as if he was sleeping. Shortly thereafter, a faint sound of conversation came into Li Ji's ears outside the house. Second and third younger brothers, it seems that De Xian has not woken up yet. Let's wait outside and don't disturb De Xian. Big brother, it's already 3 strokes in the morning. How could anyone still be awake? Let's go wake him up. No way, third brother. The rebel army we have formed is currently lacking a strategist. Gradually, the voice became increasingly low, and Li Ji couldn't hear the specific conversation clearly. And Li Ji's mind was more confined to his consciousness, starting to deduce with his ability to be named the strategy simulator by himself. Of course, the strategy simulator does not display the future, but rather infers one's own choices based on various conditions known to Li Ji, entering a special state of absolute rationality. In the past, when Li Ji was almost caught by the Yamen and thrown into prison, he was forced to eat Mao Zhen Juhua tea, which was the result of a failed escape strategy deduced from the strategy simulator. This is the 9113th day of your journey to the Eastern Han Dynasty. Through a series of packaging strategies designed in the early stages, your reputation has finally spread to Liu Bei, who is both ambitious and hesitant. Therefore, you finally arrived at Liu Guanzhang, who later sought out the great sages in the Peach Blossom Garden. You believe that this is the best opportunity you can currently seize in this era. In order to become a recognized mastermind by Liu Guanzhang, you choose 1. Indulge in pursuit of capture, 2. Engage in verbal battles, 3. Make a show of bravado. Li Ji tightly closed his eyelids and made a slight movement, pondering these 3 options. He understood that these were the 3 most likely successful strategies given by the strategy simulator based on his own abilities. With Li Ji's current ability, he can only barely support the deduction of 2 options in the short term. After a slight hesitation, Li Ji's heart sank and he chose to play hard to get. While Liu Guanzhang was waiting outside, you considered Liu Bei's many achievements and decided to respond to the visit of Liu Guanzhang and his 3 companions in a way that was easy to get. The difference between Zhuge Liang's 3 visits to the thatched cottage and Pang Tong's independent doorstep undoubtedly determines the status gap of the equally famous Wulong Fengchu in Liu Bei's heart. In terms of human nature, what is easily obtained will not be cherished or valued. So you take a nap in the thatched cottage, leaving Liu Guanzhang and the others waiting outside. During this period, you choose 1. Continue to take a nap, 2. Get up. The time deduced in the strategy simulator quickly passes, and just as you feel almost done and are ready to choose wake up, the information deduced in the strategy simulator changes. Time kept passing, and an hour passed. The scorching sun was scorching, and Liu Guan and Zhang were sweating profusely. The most irritable Zhang Fei felt extremely impatient and forcefully broke into the thatched cottage, scolding you for teasing them lightly while tying you to the tree next to the thatched cottage. You quickly explained and sought help from Liu Bei. However, young Liu Bei also harbored anger in his heart, believing that your attitude was invisibly rejecting him in such a contemptuous manner. Until Zhang Fei, who was furious, pulled out his whip and fiercely whipped you a few more times. Liu Bei couldn't bear it and quickly stopped Zhang Fei. It's just that Liu Guan and Zhang San have just formed a friendship, and Liu Bei's prestige is far from enough to forcefully stop Zhang Fei. It wasn't until Zhang Fei pulled your flesh and skin that he stopped and left under the dissuasion of Liu Bei and Guan Yu. However, no one expected your wound to be unexpectedly infected. After eating the leftover food in the thatched cottage 5 days later, the wound not only did not heal, but also became increasingly severe, falling into a high fever and dying state. You live in a deserted suburb, and no one notices that your condition is getting worse and worse, even when you feel like you are about to starve to death. A group of yellow turban thieves who wanted to plunder broke in, but the yellow turban thieves shook their heads helplessly and sympathetically as they looked at you, who was on the brink of death and living in poverty. It was a little girl who, out of sympathy, secretly left a small stutter for you. In the end, knowing that you would die, you did not take that bite to prolong your painful life, but rather let the lingering candle in the wind slowly extinguish. Your dead strategy evaluation. In order to have a bright future for yourself and Liu Bei, you chose to face Liu Bei by playing hard to get, but ignored the differences in Liu Bei's existence at different times, lost the only opportunity, died in a desolate and dilapidated thatched cottage, and even gained sympathy from a similarly hungry little girl with a yellow scarf. You have the potential to stir up the tide of the times, but your extremely low-risk resistance and momentary wrong choices have caused you to die in obscurity before leaving the mountains. After death, your name only spread to the mouth of the 2 or 3 yellow turban bandits for a few days, and it completely dissipated into the times. As the final evaluation appeared, Li Ji's face almost visibly turned pale. It's not because of the heart-wrenching evaluation, but because the scenes deduced by the strategical simulator almost vividly come to mind one by one. Although Li Ji couldn't see the face of the yellow scarf thief he had never seen before, he watched the entire process of his own death clearly. This kind of complete death experience is not a beautiful feeling. Failed. Li Ji took a deep breath and quickly suppressed his frustration, then reflected on his mistakes. Although based on historical information, Li Ji had a great advantage. The deduction of this strategy also made him realize that each person in history has their own facial makeup. Is a living person. Even the same person may make different choices in different periods, states, and moods. When Liu Bei looked at the thatched cottage 3 times, he could stop Zhang Fei from burning Zhuge Liang's thatched cottage, but he couldn't stop Zhang Fei from whipping himself at this moment. Therefore, for Liu Bei, who is only in his early 20s today, it is not very meaningful to strive for status by playing the game of play to get. Immediately, Li Ji rubbed his slightly swollen temples and refocused his gaze on those 3 options. 1. Indulge in pursuit of capture. 2. Engage in verbal battles. 3. Make a show of bravado. Playing to get can be deduced again, and then Li Ji can choose to wake up faster to avoid the impatient Zhang Fei reaching his limit. However, realizing that Liu Bei did not follow this pattern during this period, Li Ji naturally did not engage in meaningless deduction again. This time, Li Ji's gaze drifted between verbal warfare and exaggeration. The strategy simulator is based on Li Ji's own abilities for deduction. For example, if Li Ji did not understand the specific meaning of 10-sided ambush, no matter what, the strategy simulator would not have the option of 10-sided ambush. Even, Li Ji found that the success rate of a certain strategy in deduction was closely related to his understanding and mastery of the strategy. Therefore, even if the deduction has not really started yet, Li Ji is clear about what needs to be done in general for verbal warfare and exaggeration. Among the 3 heroes of tongue battle, the so-called tongue battle is naturally a debate with Liu Guanzhang, actively attempting to gain trust and status by crushing their talents and insights. As for bluffing and exaggeration, it is undoubtedly playing tricks on mystery, mainly relying on understanding the future, showing off predictions, and then making Liu Guanzhang shocked. Both of these are communicating with Liu Guanzhang, but the way of communication is exactly the opposite. Although Li Ji is proud of his 9-year compulsory education, he is also aware that his weakness is that he has not had the opportunity to slowly study various military books in this era. However, there is 1 seller of grass shoes, 1 fugitive, and 1 pig killer. Therefore, if we engage in a frontal battle with 1 enemy and 3 tongues, we still have the advantage over each other. However, after hesitating for a moment, Li Ji still chose to bluff. Since ancient times, true emotions cannot be retained, only tricks can win people's hearts. There is only one chance left, and Li Ji cannot afford to take risks. Compared to a direct verbal battle, there is undoubtedly a lower risk of bluffing. While Liu Guanzhang was waiting outside the house, you combined the lesson from the previous deduction and decided to respond to the visit of Liu Guanzhang and his 3 people in a bluff manner. You don't want to spend the first half of your life wandering around with Liu Bei, losing in battle and then losing again, fleeing again and again. You hope that your life will always be fulfilled by success. You still have an unfulfilled ambition in your heart. You hope to become a person who changes the times, you yearn to shine in this heroic and brilliant late Han era without being concealed by anyone, you want your reputation to be passed down for thousands of years, you want to be on the first page of the Millennium genealogy. The first step to achieving all of this is to first gain Liu Bei's absolute trust, so as to guide him in a direction different from the turbulent original trajectory. You have made a thorough decision in your heart. While Liu Guanzhang and the others were still curiously observing you from a distance through the thatched cottage window outside, you leisurely woke up and said, "Who was the first to dream? I have always known myself. Spring in the thatched cottage sleeps, the sun is lingering outside the window." Immediately, you pretended to have just discovered Liu Guanzhang and the other 3 outside the house, and quickly invited them into the house, who were intimidated by your first voice. Later, in the conversation with Liu Bei, you firmly held the initiative and guided the topic to areas such as the overall situation of the world that you are good at. The ability you demonstrated impressed Liu Bei, and Zhang Fei was amazed. Guan Yu also opened his eyes slightly and looked at you with a straight eye. As Liu Bei was amazed by your abilities and was about to bow down and worship you, he earnestly requested that you come out of the mountain to provide advice and strategies for the rebel army to pacify the world. Guan Yu respectfully asked you a few questions about the Spring and Autumn Annals. However, as someone who has never read the left chronicles of Spring and Autumn, you cannot answer at all, and can only stutter and evade. This anomaly cannot be concealed from Liu Guan and Zhang, and Guan Yu scolded him in anger. How can one be qualified to associate with Guan without even studying Spring and Autumn? Liu Bei and Zhang Fei looked at you with suspicion once again. Although you tried to explain, this situation was like someone who didn't understand quadratic functions talking about calculus, causing Liu Guan and Zhang to believe that you were just a scammer with ulterior motives and angrily scold you. If Liu Bei hadn't stopped Guan Yu and Zhang Fei in a timely manner, you might have been killed on the spot by Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, who were considered a fraud. However, even so, after completely losing the trust of Liu Guan and Zhang, you can only part ways with them. Later, you wandered around and tried to seek refuge with other feudal lords to achieve your ambitions. However, as an inexperienced individual with no access to a large number of military literature, you were not accepted by any feudal lords. Instead, in your middle age, you accidentally contracted a plague, drank a cup of turbid wine, and died in poverty and regret. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Among the 9 Clans. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Among the 9 Clans Strategy Evaluation. In order to have a bright future for both yourself and Liu Bei, you chose to approach Liu Bei in a mysterious way. Just those who take risks will eventually fall into danger. Once the mystery caused by Guan Yu is pierced, all trust will flow into the water. You are only one step away from success, but the shortcomings of your own knowledge reserve expose you in the face of Guan Yu's Spring and Autumn questions, and ultimately die of illness in a place unknown with regret. After your death, your reputation was occasionally laughed at by 2 or 3 people, calling you a hypocritical fraudster. At this moment, Li Ji's face turned completely white, and a large amount of information kept pouring into his brain, almost exhausting his energy, only feeling dizzy. The failure of this deductions strategy almost made Li Ji unable to help but speak out. That's his mother. You read about Spring and Autumn, asking me crazy why. I was from Western Guangdong in my past life, and I died during the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period. This strategy is only one step away from success. As long as it is not exposed by Guan Yu on the spot with the question of spring and autumn and successfully joins the Liu Bei group, Li Ji can naturally take a look at the various books collected by Liu Guanzhang to fill in the gaps. Liu Bei is a true shoe seller, but ultimately he is a member of the Han family. When he was young, he studied under the great scholar Liu Ji, and his family must have a collection of books. It is true that Guan Yu is a fugitive, but that is also something that spring and autumn annals cannot let go of. Zhang Fei is also a powerful figure in Zhuxian. The newly formed rebel army's military expenses were all obtained by Zhang Fei's conversion to selling his family assets, and he also has a collection of books at home. But now, among the options listed in the strategy simulator, there is only one remaining option: 3 heroes of tongue battle. Li Ji quietly rubbed his forehead, trying to maintain a clear mind as much as possible. After ruling out 2 incorrect options through the strategy simulator, it seems that Li Ji can only choose Battle of Tongue 3 heroes. However, this does not mean that a verbal battle of 3 heroes will definitely succeed. According to Li Ji's experience, the choices displayed in the strategy simulator are only based on Li Ji's abilities and are most likely to be successful, and it is also possible that all options are not feasible. Just like how elementary school students solve the 7 millennium problems in mathematics, even if they help them eliminate one wrong direction after another, they cannot solve the 7 millennium problems. How to make a decision? Li Ji furrowed his brow and felt worried. These 2 strategic simulations not only provided Li Ji with 2 options to avoid pitfalls, but also made Li Ji understand 2 points. 1. After an hour, Zhang Fei would break in and tie himself up, whipping himself fiercely. And Li Ji is not Huang Gai. He can be whipped while shouting in pleasure, "Gong Jin, whip me." With Li Ji's ability to resist risks, such a harsh whipping will leave him alone. Within this hour, Li Ji must do something no matter what. 2. If Li Ji missed Liu Bei, even if he wanted to join other feudal lords, there was basically no possibility of being accepted. Therefore, Li Ji did not want to remain idle in this era, so he must be bound to Liu Bei no matter what, and use Liu Guanzhang's force to gain the most basic accumulation of power in the Yellow Turban Rebellion. So, should we take a gamble and directly engage in a verbal battle with Liu Guanzhang and the others, exchanging sincerity for genuine feelings? No. Only gambling and drugs cannot be infected. Li Ji suddenly woke up and dispelled the idea. Since you aspire to become a strategist, you must not have any gambling mentality. Otherwise, even if you successfully join the Liu Bei group, you may sooner or later lead the entire force into the abyss. After an hour, Zhang Fei's patience will be completely exhausted, and there is still some time. Li Ji pondered for a moment, then closed his eyes and regained his composure, striving to recover his energy as much as possible within this hour. Then, he conducted another simulation of the 3 heroes of tongue battle. Even if the energy at that time cannot fully deduce the entire option, at least some of the results can be foreseen. Time is passing by rapidly. Li Ji, who was feeling dizzy and bloated, was inside the room, lying motionless on his side to recover his energy. The scorching sun outside grilled Liu Guanzhang and his companions, making them sweat profusely. Zhang Fei's expression gradually became impatient and ferocious, but Liu Bei remained respectful, his gaze burning and calm as he gazed at Li Ji's back, waiting for him to turn around. Finally, Li Ji estimated that time was almost up, enduring the occasional needle-piercing pain in his head, and once again using the strategy simulator ability to deduce. While Liu Guanzhang was waiting outside, you combined the results of the previous 2 simulations. Being cautious by nature, in order to firmly seize this opportunity and endure discomfort, you chose to respond to Liu Guanzhang's visit with a verbal battle of 3 heroes approach. Immediately, with a pale face, you hurriedly stood up and sincerely welcomed Liu Guanzhang and the others into the room. Zhang Fei, who was already on the brink of explosion, looked at your pale face and thought that you had just unintentionally ignored them, but instead restrained his anger. Liu Bei has been constantly concerned about your physical condition and apologized for disturbing you. He plans to visit you again when your next health improves. And you expressed your sincere appreciation and apology for Liu Bei's waiting for an hour, and then you took out everything to entertain the guests in your home, which was deserted. Upon seeing this, Liu Guanzhang and the others not only recognized your moral character, but also realized that your situation did not seem like that of a reclusive sage, but rather more like a fallen scholar. They also had some concerns about your abilities. After you keenly noticed this, you gradually turned the topic to the current Yellow Turban Rebellion. Both sides conducted military simulations based on the Yellow Turban Rebellion. In the end, with unique military thinking from previous lives and a vision beyond the times, you defeated the young Liu Guanzhang and won their admiration. At this moment, Guan Yu also timely asked you several questions about the spring and autumn annals, hoping to receive your guidance. However, when he deduced this part in his mind, Li Ji only felt a darkness in front of him, so he couldn't catch his breath. Among the 9 tribes. Why can't we let go of spring and autumn? Is summer and winter gone? Must we keep an eye on Chunqiu? At this moment, even if the deduction did not continue, Li Ji vaguely saw the reappearance of the sentence, how can one be with Guan without even reading spring and autumn? As Li Ji's barely sustained concentration dissipated, he felt as if his head had been filled with a large amount of mercury, and then he was pinched back and forth by the door about 10 times. The pain was so unbearable that he let out a painful cry and fainted directly. Before Li Ji's consciousness completely fell into a coma, a faint sound of hurried footsteps and conversations could be heard. Mr. Li Ji, Mr. Li Ji. No wonder this guy hasn't woken up after sleeping for so long. I thought he was deliberately teasing me, but he was so sick that he fainted. Big brother, this hermit whom you admire seems to be only in his prime. The reputation that has not been passed down may be spread through error. The top priority is to quickly go back and reorganize the rebel army. I think second brother is right. This guy looks more like a scammer. Big brother, don't waste your energy. No, although Mr. Li Ji's illness has nothing to do with Bei, since Bei has already encountered it, how can he turn a blind eye? And as the ancient said, if there is ambition, it is not in old age. Mr. Li Ji may not necessarily lack talent. Even without talent, if we prioritize benevolence and righteousness, how can we disregard it? Zhuxian, backyard of Zhang's manor. Unlike the bustling front yard where a large number of villagers gather at this moment, this is the only quiet place in the entire Zhang's manor. And because Zhang Fei was the only remaining member of the Zhang family in Zhuxian, and Zhang Fei had no female relatives, after Liu Guan and Zhang became sworn brothers, Liu Bei and Guan Yu also moved into the backyard for temporary residence. At this moment, there is another male in the backyard, and he is still being placed in the master bedroom that Zhang Fei originally prepared for Liu Bei. Doctor, how are you doing? As the old physician from Zhuxian, who was hastily invited by Zhang Fei, released his hand to pulse Li Ji, Liu Bei approached anxiously and asked. There's no big problem. Apart from the weakness of the body and bones, the reason for fainting is more often due to mental exhaustion. After taking medication, it's better to cultivate oneself regularly. In addition to a simple answer, the old physician left a prescription and left with the diagnosis fee in Liu Bei's gratitude. Watching the old doctor leave, Zhang Fei couldn't help but mutter. Big brother, isn't Lao Shizhi Daxian starving and fainting? Third brother, don't talk nonsense. Just now, the old physician made it very clear that Mr. Li Ji's fainting was due to mental exhaustion. Liu Bei corrected the situation seriously. Upon seeing this, Zhang Fei also understood Liu Bei's importance towards Li Ji and turned to speak up. Yes, that big brother will take care of that hardworking and talented person first. I went to the front yard to help the second brother recruit and train rural heroes. Go ahead, third brother. You and second brother have been working hard for the past few days. Recruit local heroes as soon as possible, Liu Bei said. And Liu Bei quickly ordered the servants of Zhang's manor to dispense medicine according to the prescription, and then personally made soup and medicine to feed Li Ji. As Li Ji drank the soup spoonfuls by spoonfuls, Li Ji's originally pale face and furrowed eyebrows seemed to have a slightly rosy complexion. This relieved Liu Bei, who had always been half worried, and he turned to carefully examine Li Ji lying on the bed. Li Ji is 7 feet long and has a magnificent appearance. What attracts Liu Bei the most is that he has a quite transcendent temperament. Even Liu Guanzhang, the three of them, became sworn brothers because of each other's unique posture and appearance, and they were attracted to each other as confidants through conversation. Therefore, in this era, appearance is undoubtedly a very important stepping stone. In a sense, Li Ji undoubtedly grew into Liu Bei's heart, giving him a feeling that the other person's wisdom was far superior to his own at first glance. Under this first impression, Liu Bei's unwillingness to refuse to save Li Ji was one of the reasons. However, making Liu Bei willing to personally serve the soup and medicine undoubtedly subconsciously placed himself in a disadvantaged position, attempting to win over Li Ji with an emotional card. Liu Bei had a certain intuition that he wanted to help the world, save all the people from danger, and even fulfill his childhood ambition of riding a car like a mulberry tree. The man in front of him was very important to him. However, what can move Mr. Li Ji, who is a hermit, if he can't prepare for the decline of Han family members? Being poor and destitute is also a portrayal of Liu Bei today. If it weren't for the fate arranged for Liu Bei to become sworn brothers with Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, he would still be just a destitute Han family member with great ambitions but only able to make a living by weaving grass shoes all day long. The only Han family member that Liu Bei can hold up may earn the respect of Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, and others, but anyone with insight knows that Liu Bei's Han family member identity has limited value. It has been 400 years since the founding of the Great Han Dynasty in the White Snake Uprising by Emperor Gaozu Liu Bang, and about 20 generations have passed since then. Descendants give birth to grandchildren, and the descendants of Liu Bang have been reproducing for generations, spanning 20 generations. It can be imagined how many descendants of Liu Bang existed throughout the entire Han Dynasty. Among them, Liu Bei often claimed to be the successor of Liu Sheng, the prince of Zhongshan, and there were over 120 descendants alone. Therefore, even though Li Ji lay within reach of Liu Bei still had endless worries and anxieties in his heart, just like the innocent young man who first had a close encounter with the goddess. I hope that my actions can move the goddess and win her favor, but I am also worried that the goddess will wake up feeling disgusted, so I just brush my sleeves and leave. However, even though Liu Bei knew he was poor and penniless, it was rumored that there was a goddess in Zhuo County. Liu Bei, who had great ambitions, personally went to visit him as soon as possible, hoping to win the favor of the goddess. Because Liu Bei was very clear that he really wanted to help the world and save all the people in the midst of fire and water. It was impossible to do so solely with the force of his 2 sworn brothers and hundreds of villagers. Even now, Liu Bei still has a lot of confusion about his future direction. What can I do in the tumultuous Yellow Turban Rebellion that swept across the entire Han Dynasty? What else should we do? So, Liu Bei was well aware of the importance of a true great sage to himself, and given Liu Bei's current situation, Li Ji was undoubtedly the only hermit great sage that Liu Bei had the opportunity to come into contact with. For a moment, Liu Bei kept thinking about how to speak to Mr. Li Ji, so as not to offend him and make him feel his sincerity. Thinking about it, Liu Bei, with a face full of confusion and melancholy, completely ignored Li Ji lying on the bed beside him. His eyes opened a gap, and he looked at Liu Bei with shock in his eyes. Although Li Ji had not met Liu Bei before, combining his consistent appearance with historical records and the condition he discovered before his coma, Li Ji easily inferred his current situation. With Liu Bei's benevolent nature, it is completely reasonable to bring him back for treatment after discovering that he was unconscious. In Li Ji's view, this can be considered both a good thing and undoubtedly a bad thing. The good thing is that they still retained the opportunity to interact with Liu Bei, so as not to be tied up and whipped by Zhang Fei. The bad thing is that in this situation, Li Ji felt that he had almost lost all the initiative and even owed Liu Bei a favor. This made Li Ji feel that even if he joined the Liu Bei group at this moment, he would undoubtedly become extremely weak and would not have much say in influencing Liu Bei's decisions. The right to speak. From beginning to end, this is what Li Ji values the most. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Li Ji, styled Zikun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Li Ji, styled Zikun. If Qin Gong had enough discourse power and influence in front of Lu Bu to allow him to adopt Qin Gong's advice, even if Lu Bu could not seize the Central Plains and become a hegemon, he would not have fallen into the tragic fate of the defeat in Xiapi. Is there no strategist in Liu Bei's early life trajectory? No, there are still some. Sun Qian and Jian Yong can also be considered good ministers, but Jian Yong and Sun Qian lack top-notch abilities and have no say in influencing Liu Bei's decision-making. This made Li Ji very worried that he would fall into the ranks of Sun Qian and Jian Yong. Even if he joined Liu Bei, he could only follow the trend and live in a state of embarrassment, even dying in the chaos of the army. Big Brother. Just as Li Ji was entangled, a thunderous sound resembling that of a tiger or a leopard sounded outside the house, causing Li Ji, who was pretending to be unconscious, to involuntarily shake and make a sound. Originally, Liu Bei was about to scold Zhang Fei for his reckless behavior, which was bound to disturb Li Ji's rest. However, when he saw that Li Ji seemed to have woken up, he quickly stepped forward and helped him up, speaking up. Mr. Li Ji. Li Ji, who was still awake, looked at Liu Bei with a bewildered expression and asked. Your Excellency. Bang. Just as the door was pushed open, the leopard's head was full of eyes, and Zhang Fei, with a swallow-jawed tiger beard, strode in. He looked at Li Ji, who was being supported by Liu Bei, and spoke loudly. You have finally woken up as a lazy and virtuous person. It was my elder brother who saved you. He is the descendant of the Han family's relative, Prince Jing of Zhongshan, Liu Bei and Liu Xuande. If you have any skills, please tell me quickly so that I can repay my elder brother. Liu Bei looked at Zhang Fei's generous offer and demanded that Li Ji repay him for his behavior, and exclaimed in an urgent voice. Third brother, don't be rude. For Liu Bei, what he hoped for to show kindness to Li Ji was to make him feel his sincerity and willingly assist him, not the idea of taking advantage of his kindness to repay him. Li Ji felt Zhang Fei's fierce aura, resembling a tiger or a leopard, up close. He was slightly surprised and couldn't help but secretly admire Zhang Fei, who was truly renowned in history. The aura emanating from his words and actions alone was enough to make cowards tremble with fear. Immediately, Li Ji quickly bowed to Liu Bei. Originally, it was in front of Han family members, with the courtesy name Zikun and the courtesy name Li Ji. Li Ji, Li Zikun. Upon hearing this, Liu Bei couldn't help but rub his hands and praised. Mr. Li Ji, a good name is even more a good character. Ji is the cornerstone, Kun is the foundation of the country in the people, carrying virtue and wealth. I'm flattered, Mr. Liu Bei is my benefactor. Just call me the courtesy name Zikun. Li Ji arched his hand. Liu Bei couldn't help but feel a sense of joy in his heart. The hermit in front of him was better at getting along than Liu Bei had imagined, and he immediately followed suit. Zikun, you can also use my courtesy name Xuande. Li Ji hesitated for a moment, then looked at Liu Bei seriously in his slightly uneasy gaze, pondered for a few breaths, and said. Brother Xuande of Ji Guan is very human. Since Xuande doesn't mind Ji's low status, it's better to be respectful than obedient. Suddenly, Liu Bei felt a surge of joy surge in his heart. This was also the first time that Liu Bei, who had wasted more than 20 years, received praise and recognition from others, and it also came from the hermit great sage he valued. These desires made Liu Bei ecstatic. However, it was also the more than 20 years of training that allowed Liu Bei to develop a basic state of mind where joy and anger do not manifest in any form. Even though Liu Bei wished that Li Zikun in front of him was about to get into the bowl, he still spoke calmly and gently on the surface. I originally wanted to visit Zikun, but when I arrived outside, I thought Zikun was resting. However, after waiting for about an hour, I heard Zikun let out a painful cry. I had no choice but to break into it and bring Zikun here for treatment and cultivation. I kindly asked Zikun not to blame Bei for his reckless behavior. I see. Li Ji rubbed his still swollen and slightly painful temple and gratefully spoke up. Ji was addicted to the way of deduction, almost leading to heart failure. Thanks to Xuanda's help, otherwise he would be in danger. Upon hearing this, Liu Bei's originally half-drooping gentle eyes clearly lit up, and his attention was completely drawn to the word deduction. Inference. These two words are not something that ordinary people can play with. And the fact that Mr. Li Ji in front of him was able to perform certain deductions in a coma shows that his expertise must be astonishing. For a moment, Liu Bei's hand hidden in his sleeve trembled with excitement, realizing that Mr. Li Ji in front of him must have a talent that ordinary people cannot match. However, Liu Bei's heart was filled with excitement, but on the surface, he showed a sincere expression of concern, saying, "The way of deduction can be magical. But Zikun also needs to prioritize his body, let alone Zikun's daily solitary living, which is really dangerous. Danger, danger. Zikun, you are too dangerous to be alone. Zikun, can you understand? Living alone is too dangerous, come to my side quickly." Li Ji looked up at Liu Bei's sincere and gentle expression of concern, but for a moment, he couldn't distinguish whether Liu Bei was simply concerned about himself or what he was metaphorically implying under this flawless concern. "Thank you very much for Xuanda's concern. I will pay more attention in the future," Li Ji said gratefully. This made Liu Bei feel a bit lonely in his heart, and he immediately regained his spirits, realizing that since he was a hermit and a great sage, it was impossible for him to easily recognize him. "Big brother, believe whatever they say. I see that Lao Shiziji has just passed the imperial examination, and I'm not sure how many books he can read as old as me, let alone any deductions. From my perspective, he's just spreading the truth." Zhang Fei's loud voice thundered, adding a hint of ugliness to Liu Bei's face. For this newly sworn third brother, his martial strength far exceeds that of an ordinary person, but his personality is really reckless, which makes Liu Bei feel helpless. He also worries that Zhang Fei's behavior will cause Li Ji to be dissatisfied. "Who is this?" Li Ji asked. "I, Zhang Fei, have the courtesy name Ida. Zhang Fei arched his hand, introduced himself, and then said, "I'll be frank. My elder brother is a kind and virtuous gentleman, but I, Zhang Fei, am not so easy to deceive. I have lived in Zhuo County for 20 years and have never heard of you as a first-class figure. And my elder brother shows great respect to you, even personally carrying you home and inviting a doctor to personally serve the soup and medicine. This is because it is rumored in the market that you have the ability to save the world and the people, and plan strategies. Now, my elder brother, out of benevolence and also out of his ambition to save all the people in the midst of fire and water, is willing to sacrifice his soldiers as a Han family member. If you are teasing my elder brother, don't blame me for being impolite." After these series of words were spoken, Li Ji's impression of Mang Zhangfei couldn't help but greatly change. A pure rascal, one cannot speak of such rough yet nuanced, well-founded words. If it were really a scammer who played such a prank on Liu Bei, even if he was beaten to death by Zhang Fei, it would be truly unfair. In addition, Liu Bei's unconventional actions as a corporal also left Li Ji, who had already adapted to this era, both moved and moved. In this era of clear social classes, only Chao Lu was famous for his courtesy of virtuous officials. Among them, Boss Chao was more of a gesture, and Su Yu, who was walking backwards and welcoming each other, lost his value and decided whether to cut or not. Only Liu Bei treated the virtuous and virtuous in front of him, and he never treated any meritorious officials unfairly afterwards. However, upon hearing this, Liu Bei frowned and blocked Zhang Fei's face, rebuking him. "Third brother, how could you be so impolite? Preparing to save Zikun comes from the original intention of benevolence and righteousness. How could you use this to blackmail him? This is not done by a gentleman." "Yes, big brother." Zhang Fei lowered his head and responded, but his whole body was still stuck at the door, staring at Li Ji with scrutinizing and questioning eyes. Li Ji's face showed a hint of smile, and his eyes looked around. "Great, the one who is addicted to spring and autumn is not here." Li Ji felt certain in his heart and spoke up. "Brother Xuanda's kindness is unforgettable to me, so I will repay it with a piece of news." "What news?" Liu Bei asked. "In less than 10 days, the Yellow Turban thief will surely arrive." Li Ji slowly spat out a sentence, causing the room to instantly calm down. Liu Bei's eyebrows involuntarily furrowed, while Zhang Fei looked at Li Ji with both surprise and suspicion. "How can Zikun determine?" Liu Bei asked after him. "There is not much talent in the foundation, only by deducing a mastery of one or two." Li Ji spoke with a somewhat worried tone about the country and the people. Although Ji lived in seclusion, the Yellow Turban Rebellion caused countless people to be displaced, making it difficult to ignore them. Therefore, during this period, information related to the Yellow Turban was collected at regular intervals, and based on this, it was inferred that around 10 days later, the Yellow Turban thief would arrive in Zhuo County. Liu Bei's eyebrows furrowed tightly, and this news can be said to be astonishing. 10 days in advance, push the enemy's arrival time. This era is not a time of advanced communication, satellite positioning, and computer analysis in later generations. This news can be described as a fantasy in Liu Bei and Zhang Fei's mind. "You're not the accomplice of the Yellow Turban thief, are you? Intentionally spreading news to disturb people's hearts?" Zhang Fei immediately raised doubts and shouted loudly. At this moment, even Liu Bei, who had always had great expectations for Li Ji, remained somewhat silent. After all, this news is almost as terrifying as confirming who the champion is before the World Cup starts, and even worse. Either be aware of the dark ahead of time, or anticipate the future. At least the World Cup will still disclose the player information of each team, allowing everyone to analyze and judge on their own. However, in this era, not to mention Liu Bei, even the current governor of Zhuo County, Liu Yan, may not have much information about the Yellow Turban thieves. Judging the arrival time of the enemy with 2 eyes smeared black, is it divine? And Zhang Fei's questioning and Liu Bei's hesitation were all within Li Ji's expectations. However, this is undoubtedly intentional by Li Ji. Without sufficient weight, how can it arouse Liu Guanzhang's respect and attention? And Li Ji also has enough confidence in his own judgment. In fact, Li Ji has been secretly paying attention to collecting various news related to the yellow scarf during this period. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible for Li Ji to infer a large amount of yellow scarf intelligence based on those rumors, but the strategy simulator is essentially an inherent program in Li Ji's research. Li Ji's brain is undoubtedly the CPU that runs this program, and the various intelligence, knowledge, and so on that Li Ji knows are the variables provided for simulating and deducing this program. Perhaps, it can be described in a different way. That is, during the deduction stage of the strategy simulator, Li Ji's brain will enter a mysterious state of absolute rationality, thus unbelievably deducing different choices of the future. In the deduction before contact with Liu Bei, Li Jitue's performance of being whipped and injured by Zhang Fei, and ultimately dying after encountering the Yellow Turban thief, is undoubtedly related to Li Ji's deliberate collection of intelligence about the Yellow Turban thief. So, after confirming the future of that line, even to this day, Li Ji still feels as heavy as if his head has been filled with a large amount of mercury. He can easily judge which route he can only sustain for 10 days based on his own food reserves and injury status. So, since we can meet the Yellow Turban Thief before death, it is sufficient evidence that the Yellow Turban Thief will not arrive in Zhuo County for more than 10 days. However, in the face of Zhang Fei's questioning, Li Ji appeared to be as warm as Hong Wen and angrily rebuked. As a great man, I have never had the ambition to establish my heart for heaven and earth, establish my destiny for the people. How could I join the Yellow Turban Thief in cholera throughout the world? After a pause, Li Ji looked straight at Zhang Fei and shouted. You can doubt Ji's ability, how dare you question my intentions? Moreover, Brother Xuanda has shown great kindness to me. How can I do such a thing of repaying kindness with revenge? If I have half a heart, please take my head from my neck. The saying goes. A gentleman can be deceived with a prescription. Both Liu Bei and Zhang Fei are undoubtedly the ones who enjoy this at the most. Among them, Zhang Fei's black face was questioned, and it was faintly red and black. I was impolite. Zhang Fei arched his hand and was the first to admit his mistake. Questioning Li Ji's ability, Zhang Fei admitted that there was no problem, but rashly suspected that many people were secretly colluding with the Yellow Turban Thief cholera common people. After being exposed by Li Ji, Zhang Fei also realized the extreme impoliteness. Especially in this era where benevolence and righteousness are paramount and loyalty and filial piety are paramount. In the eyes of many people, if one dies for the sake of moral righteousness in their heart, they will die, but they cannot tolerate insults that go against their moral principles. As for Liu Bei, he felt a strong resonance in Li Ji's words, completely expressing his thoughts, almost saying, I am the same. For a moment, with Liu Bei's composure, his gaze towards Li Ji couldn't help but feel a little more scorching. Establishing a heart for heaven and earth, and a destiny for the people, good sentence. Liu Bei almost wanted to splash ink and write this sentence on the spot, so that he could always carry it around and motivate himself. In addition, the character of great kindness and righteousness revealed in Li Ji's short sentences means that the timing of meeting Li Ji was not right, otherwise Liu Bei would have wished to invite Li Ji to join him in worship. People from the same path. Liu Bei couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Unfortunately, Li Ji was not fully aware of Liu Bei's thoughts, otherwise he would only want to say that he was spiritually like-minded with Liu Bei and both highly valued the people. However, physically, Li Ji does not really like the style of Shu Han, and instead does not reject becoming a fellow villager with Boss Chow. Your wife and daughter, I raised them, Kun Lu also. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Strategy of General An Chu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Strategy of General An Chu. In later generations, when the phrase, I swear by my integrity, is spoken, everyone will only burst into a burst of joyful laughter. In today's era, Li Ji's self-certification of integrity in a certain sense is undoubtedly full of credibility. At least, before the Luoshui oath appeared, this self-certification of gambling on integrity was even more convincing than gambling on life. On the 10th day, Big Brother, what should we do? Zhang Fei, who had no idea for a moment, instinctively looked towards the most trusted Liu Bei. Liu Bei, on the other hand, looked at Li Ji with a burning gaze and bowed. Zikun, please save the people of Zhuo County. I am extremely prepared. Upon hearing this, Li Ji spoke with some helplessness. Ji is just a white-skinned scholar. Even if he has the heart to kill thieves, his strength alone is extremely weak. How can he be saved? Bei and his sworn brothers Yunchang and Ida are currently forming a volunteer army, with a total of 500 available for assistance, Liu Bei said repeatedly. 500. Li Ji's eyes lit up, and his gaze towards Liu Bei seemed to change. He asked. Originally, Brother Xuanda had a strong desire to save and protect the people, and had already formed a volunteer army. I admire him. Liu Bei made an effort not to let the corners of his mouth rise, and humbly said. Now with the warning from Zikun, we quickly gathered with the county governor and mobilized the troops from all over Shui County, but we may not be invincible. And Li Ji pondered for a moment, shook his head, and spoke. And as far as I know, Shui County has few soldiers and the number of soldiers is only 10,000. Even if a large number of rebels join as active forces, there is still a fatal problem. What question? Liu Bei asked. Li Ji raised his head and slowly said to Liu Bei. Nowadays, the military commander in charge of Shui County is Zhou Jing, who is a vanguard and pioneer. He has no talent as a general. Moreover, the governor of Shui County, Liu Yan, has been frightened by the Yellow Turban thieves and may only be willing to defend the city to the death. The Yellow Turban thieves are not good at attacking the city. At that time, the people inside the city may survive, but a large number of people outside the city will inevitably suffer from the Yellow Turban disaster. As soon as he spoke, Liu Bei felt his sweat and hair stand on end, as if he had vaguely seen the yellow scarf thieves passing through like locusts, engulfing the entire Shui County and even spreading to the entire Yuzhou territory. Perhaps, in the eyes of Prefect Liu Yan, as long as the city is not broken, it is a case of meritorious service but no fault, and there is no need to worry about the court punishing him on this grounds. Liu Bei, who lived at the bottom of this era, was even more aware that once a large number of people living outside the city were plundered by the Yellow Turban thieves, they either had to endure hunger and become refugees, or could only become part of the Yellow Turban assimilation. The lower class people, it's too hard, it's also too difficult. Buried in the fields all day long, one must also pray for good weather to ensure food for the coming year and withstand no impact. At this moment, a cold and proud voice came from outside the house. Guan Yu, with a face like a heavy jujube and a long beard like a waterfall under his jaw, walked in and asked. The prefect of Shui County, Liu Yan, is also a prominent relative of the Han family. How can you assert that he has been scared out of his wits? Watching Guan Yu's arrival, Li Ji's heart instinctively trembled, afraid that Guan Yu would say, "Do you read spring and autumn?" However, Li Ji remained calm on the surface and casually said. Throughout the 13 states and 104 counties of the Great Han Dynasty, Liu Yan is probably the only prefect who heard of the arrival of bandits and hastily issued a proclamation calling on the civilian volunteers to respond, which shows that he has lost his sense of propriety. As soon as this statement was spoken, Liu Guanzhang was immediately stopped by it. Previously, Liu Guanzhang had not yet grasped the absurdity in Liu Yan's rankings, but now he suddenly realized it. The Yellow Turban thieves are essentially just volunteers, but Liu Yan now places his hope on another group of volunteers, which can be said to be lacking in skills. More importantly, Liu Yan's ranking article endows these rebels with legitimacy and rationality, which can easily lead to a situation of separatism. Therefore, in Li Ji's view, Liu Yan is either foolish or bad. From the perspective of the Han Dynasty, whether it was Liu Yan's report on the list of rebels or the later proposed system of prefectures and herdsmen, the damage caused by the sunset of the Han Dynasty was no less than that of the Yellow Turban uprising. Of course, as a truly recognized Han family relative by the imperial court, Liu Yan's reputation is excellent and highly respected by the world. Therefore, Li Ji did not fully express his evaluation in his heart, only implying that Liu Yan had lost his sense of propriety and inferred his plans to deal with the Yellow Turban in the future. However, despite this, in the midst of Li Ji's few words, he completely analyzed the originally vague situation in front of Liu Guan and Zhang, who were only full of passion. Bang! Zhang Fei angrily punched the wall and said angrily. That bird man is also considered a relative of the Han family. He is so scamless and cowardly before a battle. Can't we just let the Yellow Turban thieves cause trouble in Yen like this? Third brother, Huang Zhan has a great influence, and the governor may just be considering the overall situation. Liu Bei said so, but the clenched fists and tense cheeks also indicate that Liu Bei's heart is far from as calm as it appears on the surface. For Liu Bei and Zhang Fei, Shui County is their hometown, and those who are about to suffer from disasters are their fellow villagers and elders. Nowadays, Liu Yan easily wants to treat a large number of fellow villagers and elders as abandoned children. How can he not let Liu Bei and Zhang Fei be angry about it? Is there really nothing left to do? Guan Yu twisted his long beard and said reluctantly. Big brother, no, I won't be able to watch the people suffer. If Liu Yanyao really plans to hold on, I will also go out of the city and fight to the death against the Yellow Turban thieves. Zhang Fei spoke angrily. Third brother, Guan will go with you. Guan Yu also responded in a deep voice. Second brother, third brother, soldiers are important matters of the country, places of death and life, and the path of survival and death. It is necessary to observe them. When we plan and then act, how can we act with courage and determination? Liu Bei, who was also as calm as water, scolded Guan Yu and Zhang Fei for their actions and turned around. And now it is not yet at the point where one needs to be put to death and reborn, there are still 10 days left, and there may not be a turning point. Big brother, what other opportunities can there be? Go persuade the birdman Liu Yan to actively resist the yellow scarf, or arrange for the people outside the city to take refuge in the city as soon as possible. Zhang Fei asked in response. This sentence undoubtedly silenced Liu Bei. Even though Liu Bei claimed to be a relative of the Han family, he had no connection with the prefect Liu Yan before, otherwise he would not have fallen to the point of selling grass shoes for a living. As for arranging refuge for the people outside the city, let alone whether those people are willing to give up all their possessions with just a few words. More importantly, the space inside the city is limited, and in order to avoid mixing it with yellow scarf insiders, Liu Yan would never let the people into the city. For a moment, Liu Bei's heart unconsciously sank, feeling powerless about the difference between his ideals and reality. He formed a brotherly alliance and formed a rebel army to protect the people of Shui County. Now, can only helplessly abandon a large number of people outside the city. It's not without a transfer. Suddenly, a calm voice came into the ears of Liu Guanzhang and the others, and they quickly looked towards Li Ji, who was standing by the window and looking into the distance, as if Zhizhu was in his grasp. Zikun, will the strategy be safe and sound? Liu Bei asked urgently. Is there charcoal available? Li Ji asked. Liu Bei was taken aback and then looked towards Zhang Fei. Zhang Fei, who understood, hurriedly left, and when he returned, he placed a large amount of charcoal in front of Li Ji, ready to start a fire for him. Li Ji. Zhang Fei's somewhat silly behavior made Li Ji burst into laughter, and then he stopped Zhang Fei's behavior. He picked up a moderate piece of charcoal and began painting on the wall behind him. Soon, under Li Ji's painting, mountains, rivers, and streams gradually appeared in front of Liu Guanzhang. Big brother, what is he doing? The yellow turban thief is approaching, and he is still painting. Listening to Zhang Fei's murmurs, Liu Bei looked at the mountains and rivers painted on the wall, but his eyes lit up unconsciously and he said in shock. Topographic map. This is the topographic map of the entire Shui County. As soon as he said this, Guan Yu's narrow Danfang eyes unconsciously widened a little. For the wars of this era, the importance of topographic maps is self-evident, enough to enable one side to firmly occupy the initiative of geographical advantage in the balance of time, location, and people. In Liu Bei's eyes, the most astonishing thing was that Li Ji was actually hand-drawing the topographic map of the entire Shui County out of thin air. What Liu Bei didn't know was that Li Ji had prepared 2.5 years in advance for this moment, walking around the vast Shui County with his feet. More importantly, Li Ji used to be an art student. Do you understand the value of a student who loves history but fails to make it to the art list? Hand-drawn topographic maps are naturally not a problem. At this moment, not to mention whether Li Ji's other deductions were correct, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei were completely impressed by this single move, and the look at Li Ji was truly more respectful. In less than a moment, a topographic map that included the entire Zhuo County was painted on the wall by Li Ji with a charcoal stick. Li Ji casually threw the remaining half of the charcoal in his hand, with his back facing the terrain map behind him, and watched Liu Guan open his mouth in front of him. Before this, I wonder if the three of you were aware of why the Yellow Turban thieves invaded Yuzhou. This statement undoubtedly plunged Liu Guanzhang into contemplation, but he didn't know how to answer it. Li Ji continued to speak. The headquarters of Zhang Jiao, the leader of the Yellow Turban thief, is located in Jiulu, Jizhou. To the north is Yuzhou, and to the west is Luoyang. However, the Yellow Turban Uprising's intention to directly attack Luoyang is clearly thwarted and will inevitably be blocked by the Imperial Army. Therefore, Zhang Jiao sent a biased army to attack Yuzhou, partly to attract the attention of the court and partly to use the unique method of the Yellow Turban thieves to kidnap more people, attempting to occupy Yuzhou in a snowball-like manner, and then roll back to Jizhou, overwhelming the Imperial Army with absolute numbers. This clear analysis undoubtedly made Liu Guanzhang suddenly realize the current situation, and he was also amazed by Li Ji's ability to sit in Zhuo County but have a clear understanding of the overall situation of the world. Immediately, Li Ji's fingers drew a circle in the southern part of the terrain map and said, "According to Ji's deduction, this Yellow Turban thief is probably within this range, and since their goal is to lure more people into a whale-devouring situation, their marching route will be." Li Ji's fingers slowly drew a line on the topographic map, pointing straight to the location of Zhuo County, which is the capital of Zhuo County. "Mr. Zikun, how should we respond?" At this moment, even the most arrogant Guan Yu unconsciously used a respectful title to Li Ji and asked. Firstly, knowing oneself and the enemy will lead to victories in all battles. The Yellow Turban thieves' journey will carry a large number of people, who are not only weapons and shields of the Yellow Turban thieves, but also consumables in their eyes. Therefore, it is crucial to confirm the location and quantity of the Yellow Turban thieves' headquarters. After a pause, Li Ji asked. "How many horses do you have in your hands now?" "Mr. Zikun, 20.2 horses, Zhang Fei quickly replied. Zhang Fei's honorific title gave Li Ji a slight pause before continuing. "If in my humble opinion, Ida should search for 19 righteous soldiers, one by one, to act as scouts and search for the Yellow Turban thief along the route mentioned by Ji, in order to quickly and specifically grasp the intelligence of the Yellow Turban thief. Mr. Zikun, let me handle this matter." Zhang Fei responded with a pat on his chest. "Secondly, recruit soldiers." Li Ji continued speaking. 500 people. Too few. Not to mention that the number of Yellow Turban thieves is often over 10,000, but more importantly, the number of rebels is too small. Why should Governor Liu Yan take it seriously? This statement actually made Liu Bei's face show embarrassment. Liu Bei and Guan Yu were both poor and forced. Zhang Fei was the only real tycoon present. Capable of sustaining 500 rebels, Zhang Fei has already sold the vast majority of his assets. If Zhang Fei wants to recruit more courage, even if he is willing to sell all his assets, it may be a drop in the bucket. Liu Bei spoke with some helplessness and shame. "Zikun, this matter is not something that we don't want to do. It's just that now the military funds are all contributed by our third brother, and we have already asked him to do everything he can to recruit more courage. It's really beyond his ability. Not every army can achieve complete annihilation without collapse solely based on faith and will. Money grain. This is the most basic condition for maintaining this army, which is very realistic and true. Brother Xuanda, how long were these 500 people prepared to last?" Li Ji asked. "Half a year," Liu Bei replied. Upon hearing these words, Li Ji couldn't help but feel numb in his heart. A tycoon is a true tycoon. Maintaining a budget of 500 people for half a year is not a small amount, and Zhang Fei is truly a wealthy family in Zhuoxian. However, when Li Ji thought about Boss Chao's request for Dong, he was easily supported by his father Cao Song and his friend Wei Zi, and he easily pulled up 5,000 people, which made Li Ji feel the gap even more. This is also why among the feudal lords in the late Eastern Han Dynasty, only Liu Bei was considered to have a grassroots background. The gap in family background is too big. Even if Zhang Fei had exhausted all his family assets, it was probably just pocket money in the eyes of Boss Chow, let alone compared to Yuan Shao, who was the fourth generation and 3 nobles. However, these thoughts only flashed through Li Ji's heart, and his face regained its indifferent smile, saying, "Brother Xuanda, you have entered a misconception. Why leave half a year's worth of money and food? Just ensure 10 days' worth of expenses." Upon hearing this, Liu Bei was first taken aback and then suddenly reacted. "Indeed, if we win 10 days later, no matter how much money and food we have, we will only be enemies." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Yan Yun's 18 Cavalries. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Yan Yun's 18 Cavalries. However, Zhang Fei's face showed a hint of confusion and he asked, "Mr. Zikun, what if we win? Without money and food, can we only disband in place? Let me ask you all, what would happen if you led 500 rebels with the imperial edict to defect to Governor Liu Yan?" Li Ji asked. Zhang Fei, who had no good impression of Liu Yan, spoke up. "I'm afraid that Birdman would just perfunctory and treat us as cannon fodder for defending the city." Liu Bei remained silent about this. 500 people, even some bandits and mountain bandits, are more than this number. It is only natural that they will not be valued by Liu Yan, the prefect of the region. Li Ji asked again. "What would be your attitude if you defeated the Yellow Turban, gathered some of your brave forces, and led 5,000 soldiers and horses to meet Liu Yan with a great victory?" Suddenly, a sudden expression appeared on Liu Guanzhang's face. 5,000. In addition, at that time, with great righteousness in hand and a great potential for victory, one must be a guest of honor. Moreover, when asked for money and food from Liu Yan, he would not dare not disobey his promise. Li Ji sees this matter more thoroughly than anyone else. In times of chaos, there is only one truth. Political power emerges from the barrel of a gun. The same principle applies to this time, 2,000 years later. If Li Ji had 50,000 soldiers and horses in his hands, he wouldn't even have the idea of using the Yellow Turban Rebellion to devour the entire Yuzhou and directly become a vassal state. If there were 500,000 soldiers and horses. Yellow Scarf. Who is the Yellow Scarf? I am the Yellow Scarf. Following the example of Emperor Gaozu in the Yellow Snake Uprising, it is also possible. Of course, these are undoubtedly too far away. And Liu Bei completely understood Li Ji's meaning. If he was determined to go and fight against the Yellow Turban thieves to protect the people of Shui County, then there was no need to worry about the money and food issues in 10 days. If defeated, everything will rest. If he wins, then Liu Yan will not fail to provide money and food for the rebel army with a great victory momentum. Immediately, Li Ji spoke a sentence in front of Liu Guanzhang and the others, which made their hearts boil with excitement. If the 3 of them have the ambition to report to the country, lower the security of Li Shu, and want to bring about the downfall of the Han Dynasty, then this will also be the first step that the 3 must take. The number of 500 rebels who were deployed in the war against Huangjin was just a drop in the ocean, but the 5,000 rebels' attack on the rear of Jizhou Julu, where Zhang Jiao, the great strategist of Yuzhou, was located, could become a force that cannot be ignored. At this moment, Liu Bei's original hesitation in Liu Yan's heart dissipated, and the hesitation in Shui County dissipated completely. That's right. Our goal in the Peach Blossom Garden Confession is to ensure the stability of the entire world. With good opportunities ahead, how can we sacrifice ourselves? Liu Bei's gaze showed a different firmness and radiance, and an inexplicable aura emerged. Swallowing thousands of miles like a tiger is naturally not as good as it is, but it is also like a great Peng who is determined to rise up in the wind of chaotic times and achieve his own aspirations and aspirations. Second brother, third brother, please lend a helping hand to me. Liu Bei turned around and bowed to Guan Yu and Zhang Fei behind him, speaking sincerely. It's my duty. Guan Yu responded calmly, as if taking the matter of entrusting his life to the battlefield as if it were a matter of indifference. Zhang Fei couldn't help but open his mouth and patted his chest, saying excitedly. Big brother, I'm the same. Okay. Liu Bei spoke in unison and couldn't help but look in the direction of Li Ji, hoping for his reaction. Regarding the personalities of his two sworn brothers, Liu Bei naturally had a clear understanding. In addition to respecting Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, Liu Bei hoped that Li Ji could have some feelings for this behavior. As long as Li Ji reveals a slight hint of intention, Liu Bei will definitely do everything without hesitation to worship Li Ji as a strategist. Li Ji almost perfectly matched Liu Bei's imagination, even fantasy. In just a few words, he analyzed the overall situation of the world thoroughly and depicted a path that perfectly matched Liu Bei's personality, aspirations, and feasibility before his eyes. Just like the 800-year-old dynasty of King Wu of Zhou, Emperor Gaozu established the Great Han Dynasty by worshipping Marquis Liu. Before this, what Liu Bei hesitated about was only how to lead the rebel army to defect to Liu Yan, the governor of Zhuo County, and then on the one hand, protect his fellow villagers and elders, and on the other hand, seek to gain Liu Yan's recognition in advance. There are no great sages or talents in the world better than Zikun alone. This idea inexplicably rose in Liu Bei's heart, and the doubts and hesitations about Li Ji's age that were originally hidden deep in his heart could be said to have completely dissipated. However, just like Liu Bei, who was somewhat insecure about his low status and lacked the confidence to attract Li Ji, he was afraid that his hasty and utilitarian behavior would displease Li Ji, so he only dared to cautiously test Li Ji's attitude. However, Li Ji didn't dare to interfere with the scene of Liu Guanzhang and his three brothers showing deep brotherly affection, living and dying together. He was worried that Liu Guanzhang might cause some dissatisfaction. After all, even with the high status of Zhuge Liang in the Liu Bei group, in history, Liu Bei's temporary estrangement and displeasure were caused by his dissuasion from seeking revenge for Guan Yu. Although this did not affect Zhuge Liang's status, and Liu Bei did not hesitate to entrust Liu Chan and the entire country to Zhuge Liang, it is also enough to demonstrate the deep and stable relationship between Liu Guan and Zhang, which is probably impossible to pour water into. Li Jining trusted Lv Bujia and Jiao Chan, and would not doubt the friendship between Liu Guan and Zhang. With this analysis and advice, Li Ji is confident that he will win the attention and respect of Liu Guanzhang, and at this moment, Li Ji is even more optimistic about Liu Bei's future. Having benevolence but not being pedantic, doing great things at the cost of one's own life, willing to gamble everything for ideals and righteousness, and without hesitation, firmly seize the opportunities that come before us. Liu Bei had various qualities that satisfied Li Ji. If Liu Bei doesn't listen to Li Ji's analysis and still place his hope on Liu Yan, then it is really necessary to carefully consider whether Liu Bei is worth assisting. However, Li Ji was not in a hurry to bow down on the spot now. Anyway, with Li Ji's strategy at the forefront, Li Ji also has a legitimate reason to temporarily stay by Liu Bei's side. More importantly, Li Ji was well aware of what was meant by not getting what was the best. However, Li Ji's reaction left Liu Bei feeling somewhat disappointed, but he quickly followed Li Ji's advice and made arrangements. Zhang Fei immediately selected skilled equestrians among the rebels and servants, intending to form a temporary scout team. Fortunately, there were many brave people in Yendi, and there were many skilled equestrians. Zhang Fei quickly selected a suitable candidate. However, Zhang Fei only selected 18 people and took 19 horses with him. In addition to the horses left for Liu Bei and Guan Yu, he also specially kept one horse for Li Ji. Before departure, Zhang Fei solemnly took the Buge route map prepared by Li Ji and put it into his arms. This era is far from the future. In the absence of satellite navigation, finding a way is not a simple task, and there is no time for Zhang Fei to slowly ask for directions along the way. This map is crucial. Mr. Zikun, if I really find the Yellow Turban thief based on the map, I will completely subdue you. Zhang Fei arched his hand seriously at Li Ji and said in a thunderous voice. Li Ji smiled freely and said. Whether to accept or not, Ji doesn't care much. On the contrary, whether Ida can quickly find the location of the Yellow Turban headquarters is crucial to success or failure. As long as Mr. Zikun's route and map are correct, even if I spare no effort, I will definitely find the headquarters of the Yellow Turban thief. Zhang Fei said in a deep voice, then bowed to Liu Bei and Guanyu respectively. Big brother, second brother, wait for my news with peace of mind. Third brother, be careful. Liu Bei and Guanyu also spoke with a somewhat heavy expression, understanding that Zhang Fei's departure was not a small risk. Although that group of yellow scarf thieves came from Jizhou, it is uncertain that they had already plundered many horses after entering Yuzhou. Even if Zhang Fei is exceptionally brave, once he unexpectedly falls into a heavy siege, it is likely to be very dangerous. Zhang Fei didn't say much and shouted at the 18 heroic warriors standing behind him. Get on the horse. Immediately, these 18 brave warriors carefully selected by Zhang Fei turned over and mounted their horses, showcasing the heroic and generous spirit unique to Yendi men. These 18 people include Zhang Fei's servants, as well as some brave soldiers among the rebels, and Zhang Fei clearly informed them of the purpose and danger of their trip. And they were also infected by Zhang Fei's arrogance, and then decided to follow him to investigate the headquarters of the Yellow Turban thief. The actions of these 18 people are not only to protect the benevolence of the people of Shui County, but also to admire Zhang Fei's determination to follow. Zhang Fei looked at the resolute and heroic faces behind him, and felt a surge of pride in his heart. He turned to speak to Li Ji. Mr. Zikun, your knowledge is the best. Could you please give me a name for these 18 brothers? I am determined to live and prosper with them in the future. Before this, Li Ji couldn't quite understand the unique behavior of this era, which was willing to sacrifice his life for loyalty, benevolence, and righteousness. At this moment, Li Ji suddenly understood why these 18 people were still determined to follow Zhang Fei's ideas even though they knew their future was uncertain. Just like a red star rising in later generations, countless Mars burning down and accompanying each other. This may be one of the beliefs of this era. Just call it, Yenyun 18 Cavalries. I believe this name will follow Ida throughout this era and will remain in history for thousands of years. Li Jidao. Yenyun 18 Cavalry, a great name. Zhang Fei burst out laughing, then pointed his Zhangba snake spear towards the south of Yendi and said. Yenyun 18 Cavalry, let's go. Here. The 18 cavalries of Yen Yun responded with a thunderous response. Despite Liu Guanzhang's current financial resources, even the three of them did not have complete armor, and the rebel army under his command was only equipped with weapons per person. But the 18 cavalry of Yen Yun, dressed in cloth clothes, still exuded the aura of a golden spear. With a wave of their hooves, they chased after Zhang Fei. Accompanied by the sound of horse hooves, Li Ji watched as Zhang Fei and the 18 cavalries of Yen Yun disappeared from sight, still unable to recall for a long time. Prior to this, Li Ji's sensory perception of Zhang Fei was not particularly good, and Zhang Fei's various shortcomings were often recorded in historical records. Alcoholics, recklessness, courage but little strategy among Lu Guan and Zhang Fei has the lowest sense of presence and is often the one who causes trouble. But at this moment, Li Ji felt that Zhang Fei, a reckless man, also had a lovely side. The first bucket of gold for Liu Bei's rise in turbulent times undoubtedly came from Zhang Fei's devoted family resources. Before this, Zhang Fei was a wealthy landlord and spent half his life wandering with Liu Bei without any complaints. If it were Li Ji's past life as a wealthy landlord, at least he could be considered a wealthy man with several buildings in his family. In order to make his sworn brother start a business, he would not hesitate to sell his family property and follow him through life and death. Now, it only took Zhang Fei a few days to meet Liu Bei. He was willing to take the 18 cavalries of Yan Yun on an adventure and leave all his assets for Liu Bei to recruit volunteers. Yendi, there are indeed many people who sing passionately and elegantly. Li Ji gazed at the direction in which Zhang Fei had left and secretly sighed. And Liu Bei looked at Li Ji's reaction and asked. Zikun, are you worried about the safety of Ida? Such a hero would never die at the hands of the Yellow Turban thief, Li Ji replied. I also believe that with the courage of my third brother, I will surely be safe and sound. After a pause, Liu Bei vaguely rubbed his palms with sweat and spoke in a sincere and gentle tone. Zikun, the Yellow Turban thief is approaching, and there may be more unrest outside the city. Moreover, your body still needs cultivation, and there are still many places that I need to consult with you. I wonder if it is possible to ask Zikun to temporarily reside inside the Zhang mansion. At this moment, even Guan Yu standing on the side couldn't help but cast a concerned gaze at Li Ji, who had a pensive expression on his face. If Li Ji had no intention of having a deep friendship with Liu Bei, then the previous analysis and offer of advice would be enough to repay the favor. If Li Ji does not want to have more involvement with Liu Bei, then Li Ji will refuse to leave at this moment, and even Guan Yu does not believe that Li Ji's actions are detrimental to loyalty. After a moment, Li Ji bowed to Liu Bei and said. As I wish, I dare not hear. Very good, very good. Liu Bei's face struggled to suppress a smile from the corners of his mouth, but his whole body still clearly showed a burst of joy. However, Ji also has an unfeeling request, Li Ji said. Liu Bei couldn't help but feel a tightness in his heart and answered seriously. Zikun, but it doesn't matter. I wonder if it's possible to take a look at the books in the Ida family's collection. As the Yellow Turban thief approaches, Ji feels that he is lacking in talent and knowledge, and lacks strategic planning. Perhaps he can gain some insights from it and help Brother Xuanda. Li Ji asked. Upon hearing this, Liu Bei, who had already been mentally prepared for the difficulty of reaching out to the moon for 9 days, couldn't help but feel relieved and quickly replied. This matter is easy to hear, and the third younger brother of Bei Dai agreed. In addition, there are also several books gifted by Liu Shi, Liu Ji, in the Bei family, which Zikun can browse freely. For Liu Bei, the biggest concern was that Li Ji had nothing to ask for. After repaying his kindness, he stayed for a while before drifting away. As for Li Ji's statement of lack of talent and knowledge, and lack of strategic knowledge, Liu Bei can only be regarded as Li Ji's self-deprecating statement. Thank you, Brother Xuanda. Li Ji smiled gratefully and said. In the following days, Li Ji almost couldn't help but browse through the books collected at Zhang Fei's home. Especially the books handed over by Liu Bei to Li Ji can be described as insincere. The value of ancient military books is comparable to the patented technology unique to later technology companies. Even though Li Ji used to be a foreign master, the wisdom of later generations cannot be seen to be even greater than that of the ancients, let alone the true unedited version of this era. In the eyes of Li Ji, whose thinking is becoming increasingly acute without realizing it, he felt greatly benefited in just a few days. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Enemies from thousands of miles away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Enemies from thousands of miles away, A series of rapid hooves echoed in the darkness. After leaving Zhuxian, Zhang Fei led the 18 cavalries of Yan Yun to rush south along the route marked on the map day and night, searching for the traces of the Yellow Turban. For Zhang Fei, this was also his first time leading the army in his life. Although his subordinates were only 18 people, Zhang Fei's mood was undoubtedly quite stirring at the beginning. However, after 2 days of non-stop travel, Zhang Fei's face no longer had the excitement on it. With a hint of Feng Lu added, his messy face appeared both fierce and solemn. At this moment, Zhang Fei has arrived at the edge of the area where Li Ji predicted the Yellow Turban thief to be located. As far as he can see, it is still a peaceful place. This gave Zhang Fei a hint of doubt in his heart and he murmured. I won't be fooled by Mr. Zikun, will I? Immediately, Zhang Fei took out the map from his pocket and carefully identified it with some faint moonlight, confirming that his position was correct before stuffing it back into his pocket. Immediately after, Zhang Fei turned his head to look at the 18 cavalries of Yan Yun behind him, with an indescribable expression of fatigue on his face. Even sitting on the back of a horse, he felt a bit shaky. During these 2 days, apart from providing the necessary rest for the horses, they have been driving almost non-stop all the way, and now it is already exhausting. However, Zhang Fei is well aware of the importance of time. The faster he confirms the Yellow Turban thief from Jizhou, the more he can leave Liu Bei with sufficient preparation and arrangement. Therefore, even though Zhang Fei wanted to let his like-minded Yan Yun 18 cavalry rest first, he still raised his Zhangba snake spear and ordered. They scattered 300 zhang apart and searched south all the way. If they found anything, they would use the 3 long whistles as a signal. Tonight, no matter what, they must first find the trace of the Yellow Turban thief. Yes. The 18 cavalries of Yan Yun responded in a somewhat tired voice, quickly spreading 300 zhang without any complaints, like a large net starting to search from north to south in this area. And this is also a way that Li Ji taught Zhang Fei. Zhuo County is so vast that a dozen or so people thrown into it are just a drop in the ocean. Even with the scope further delineated by Li Ji, if we search like headless flies, more than 10 people may not be able to find it. However, just as Zhang Fei gritted his teeth and prepared to search this area all night in this way. In less than a moment, Zhang Fei and Yan Yun's 18 cavalries met again at 3 whistles, gazing together at the black shadows that seemed to be wriggling forward under the continuous torches. I really found it. The Yellow Turban thief is really in this area. Although Zhang Fei had subconsciously believed in Li Ji's ability, he still couldn't help but feel inexplicable after personally confirming Li Ji's prediction. Is this just a prediction that the enemy is thousands of miles away? Mr. Zikun, he is truly a divine being. With Zhang Fei's intelligence, he found the scene before him unbelievable, and it was difficult to understand how Li Ji had anticipated the location of the Yellow Turban thief 1,000 miles away 2 days ago. However, as Zhang Fei led the 18 cavalries of Yan Yun to quietly touch the flank of the group of continuous black shadows in front of him, his face became somewhat complex and unsightly. Upon entering the scene, the faces of the elderly, weak, women, and children could be seen everywhere in the dark shadows, slowly and painstakingly walking along the direction of the torch. Only those holding torches were strong men with yellow scarves on their heads, and from time to time, these yellow scarves holding large knives shouted insults at the elderly, weak, women, and children moving forward. Even though Zhang Fei and the 18 cavalries of Yan Yun were still quite far away from the Yellow Turban crowd, the cries of the Yellow Turban thieves, the cries of women and children, and the occasional cries of grief in the darkness formed a scene that made people both feel cold and angry inside. In Zhang Fei's eyes, this is not even considered a march, but driving the people forward. Yellow scarf. Yellow turban. Zhang Fei clenched his teeth tightly, his eyes wide and wide, as if he was about to bite someone. From the accents of those yellow scarf thieves and a large number of elderly and weak women and children who were driven away, it is not difficult for Zhang Fei to determine that most of those elderly and weak women and children are from Zhuo County, while those yellow scarf thieves should have a Jizhou accent. Previously, Zhang Fei could not fully understand what Li Ji was saying, that the Yellow Turban thieves would plunder the people all the way, growing rapidly like a snowball. And no matter what, we must find out the headquarters of the Yellow Turban thieves in order to truly defeat this group of Yellow Turban thieves. Nowadays, Zhang Fei still doesn't understand that the plundering methods of the Yellow Turban thieves are much more terrifying than ordinary mountain bandits. These yellow scarf thieves not only plunder the local people's wealth and food, but also force them to join the yellow scarf crowd wherever they pass by. With a steel knife in one hand and food in the other, coupled with the fact that the people have been plundered and have almost no way to survive, where are there more options? As for pretending to join and then resist. When a common person is forced to join the Yellow Turban thief with their family, how can they have the opportunity to resist? The elderly, weak, women and children have no ability to escape, and can only be guided and driven along the way. And when the elderly, weak, women, and children in the family are forced to become part of the Yellow Turban crowd, those young adults who are forced to join have no other choice but to comply, even if it is to protect their families. Even in order to make the elderly, weak, women, and children in the family stutter, those young and middle-aged people can only choose to follow other yellow scarf thieves to plunder other common people. Anger. Zhang Fei stared at the yellow scarf thieves holding torches with a tiger and leopard-like gaze, wishing to rush forward and use his Zhangba snake spear to poke several holes one by one on the thieves. The huge crowd of yellow scarves in front of Zhang Fei did not intimidate him, but instead looked at the scattered and chaotic progress of the massive quantity, and a subconscious thought came to mind. Night raid. This group of yellow turban soldiers cannot even be considered true soldiers, and even the outermost areas have never been guarded. Zhang Fei feels that even if he only leads 18 people, he can take advantage of the night to pierce through the yellow turban soldiers and kill them to the heart's content. However, Zhang Fei turned around and glanced at the exhausted Yanyun 18 cavalry behind him, but still dispelled the thought. More importantly, under the night attack, Zhang Fei also understood that even if he could kill 180 yellow scarf thieves to vent his anger, he was afraid that those elderly, weak, women and children who had no combat power would die more in the chaos and trampling. Damn it! Zhang Fei said fiercely. I will make you thieves look good tomorrow. Immediately, Zhang Fei led the 18 cavalries of Yanyun to retreat to a certain distance, then rested while thinking about how to quickly find the headquarters of the Yellow Turban thief. 3 days later. Just as Li Ji put down his spring and autumn annals and prepared to sleep with his clothes. Bang! The door was suddenly knocked open, and Liu Bei burst in with enthusiasm. This made Li Ji instinctively sit up, feeling a headache. During these 5 days, Liu Bei was almost busy with volunteer affairs day and night, constantly recruiting local soldiers. However, even so, Liu Bei still remembered his daily greetings to Li Ji. No matter how busy and urgent he was, he could be said to have remained steadfast at the same table and slept with Li Ji's sleep. Of course this is impossible. Or perhaps due to the habits of this era, Liu Bei has repeatedly wanted to have a long conversation with Li Ji and sleep with him, in order to express Liu Bei's importance and friendship towards Li Ji. However, Li Ji couldn't bear this habit and firmly declined it, almost saying, I wish I had killed someone in my dream. Therefore, upon seeing Liu Bei appear at this time, Li Ji almost instinctively thought that Liu Bei wanted to invite him again. Zikun, Zikun. Liu Bei's face flushed with excitement for the first time, and he rushed straight to Li Ji's face, holding Li Ji's hand and repeatedly saying, You're so amazing, God-man, God-man. Li Ji. What is Liu Bei going crazy about in the middle of the night? Just as Li Ji couldn't help but lean back, he slightly moved away from Liu Bei's slightly excited and rosy face. Brother Xuanda, are you? Li Ji asked cautiously. Liu Bei reached into his clothes and spoke as he spoke. Right, Zikun, I'll show you something wonderful first, and you'll understand. Immediately after, a bamboo slip was taken out of Liu Bei's arms and handed to Li Ji. Li Ji took the bamboo slip and pretended to wake up and sit on a couch far away from Liu Bei. By the candlelight, he opened the bamboo slip and looked at it. Respected elder brother, second brother, Mr. Zikun. This tone shook Li Ji's spirit, and he immediately understood the information that Zhang Fei had transmitted back, which was also the information that Li Ji was urgently waiting for. Without any knowledge of the intelligence of the Yellow Turban crowd, even Li Ji's strategic simulator has no significance. The more detailed the intelligence, the more helpful it can be for Li Ji to use the strategy simulator capability for deduction. However, to Li Ji's surprise, the next sentence in the bamboo slip was, "Mr. Zikun is truly a divine being. I was traveling day and night from Zhuo County for 2 days, and I found the Yellow Turban thief at the location Mr. Zikun mentioned." As the bamboo slips were gradually unfolded, it also recorded a large amount of information about the yellow scarf discovered by Zhang Fei. After Zhang Fei led the 18 cavalries of Yan Yun to rest overnight, the next day they began collecting information about the Yellow Turban sect. 100,000. Including a large number of elderly, weak, women, and children, the number of people with yellow scarves exceeded 100,000 in Zhang Fei's sight. And those real yellow scarf thieves are hidden among the countless elderly, weak, women, and children. The exact number is unknown, and the location of the yellow scarf thief's headquarters is unclear. Among them, Zhang Fei specifically recorded that every day the Yellow Turban crowd marched, a large number of elderly, weak, women, and children couldn't support themselves and fell down. The places where the Yellow Turban crowd marched were almost the corpses laid by the elderly, weak, women, and children, and at the same time, they were constantly carrying more people. Because Zhang Fei and Yan Yun, who had been running back and forth around the periphery of the Yellow Turban crowd for most of the day, finally made a decision. That's to challenge the Yellow Turban crowd. And it's not taking advantage of the darkness to cover up, but directly attacking the Yellow Turban crowd in broad daylight. 19 people impact 100,000 people. When he saw this, Li Ji's eyebrows couldn't help but jump fiercely. However, Zhang Fei was not a completely brainless rascal. He deliberately selected the weakest flank and fiercely inserted it, and specifically targeted those yellow scarves wearing yellow scarves to charge. With mental calculation but no intention, Zhang Fei quickly caused a small scale chaos. And those panicked elderly, weak, women, and children who were not guided and expelled by the Yellow Turban thieves not only failed to pose a threat to Zhang Fei and others, but also to some extent protected Zhang Fei, a rare group of people. In addition, using Zhang Fei's force to kill ordinary yellow scarf thieves can almost be considered as unparalleled lawn mowing. Later, the small area on the flank was chaotic, quickly attracting the attention of the true Yellow Turban thief headquarters. Thousands of thieves wearing yellow turbans quickly surrounded Zhang Fei and Yan Yun's 18 cavalries. However, with the obstruction of those elderly, weak, women, and children, Zhang Fei and Yan Yun's 18 cavalry quickly retreated safely. Subsequently, with the exposure of the Yellow Turban thieves, Zhang Fei quickly found the true location of the Yellow Turban thieves' headquarters, and then identified the cooking smoke in that area from a distance, and determined that the Yellow Turban thieves' headquarters was approximately between 50,000 and 60,000. Secondly, among the people who have been looted and joined the Yellow Turban tribe, there are about 20,000 young adults who can be driven away by the Yellow Turban thieves and pose a threat, while the remaining 70,000 are elderly, weak, women, and children who pose little threat. Finally, in the gradually remaining area, there is a long section of praise for Zikun's divine prediction. Based on Zhang Fei's actual judgment of the speed of the Yellow Turban crowd's movement, they arrived near Zhuoxian on the 10th day from the previous calculation. Li Ji slowly closed the bamboo slip, his eyes slightly narrowed, and said, "In 5 days, the Yellow Turban thieves will truly arrive in Zhuoxian. If Zhuoxian cannot resist the Yellow Turban thieves, then these Yellow Turban thieves will gradually cover the entire territory of Zhuoxian like heavenly maidens scattering flowers, attacking other counties in Yuzhou along the way." With this moment of buffering, Liu Bei also regained his rightful calmness from the excitement of confirming that Li Ji had predicted an enemy thousands of miles away, sighed, and said, "In the past few days, Governor Liu Yan has fully mobilized the troops of the entire Zhuo County to the city of Zhuo County, probably intending to abandon the entire Zhuo County and defend it as Zikun had previously said. It's not surprising that the Yellow Turban had a great momentum, but within a month or two, it had already taken over nearly half of the Han Dynasty's territory, with the 8 states of Huangxiking, Su, Yu, Ji, Jing, Yang, Yan, and Yu in power. It was common for Liu Yan to be so frightened and intimidated. Li Ji calmly commented. The information held by different classes is obviously vastly different. At the time when Liu Guanzhang and more ordinary people saw the list of the rebel army and became aware of the existence of the Yellow Turban thief, Governor Liu Yan clearly had more information about the Yellow Turban in his hands. Therefore, when there was an intention to attack Yuzhou in Huangjin, Liu Yan would lose his composure and even plan to abandon the entire territory of Zhuo County and defend the city. In the past few days, Liu Bei also visited Liu Yan as the leader of the rebel army and a relative of the Han family, with the intention of making a final effort to persuade Liu Yan to protect more people. Only then did he learn from Liu Yan the shocking news of the Yellow Turban thieves sweeping across the 8 provinces of the world. At this moment, Liu Bei's expression couldn't help but show a hint of doubt and hesitation, and he asked. Zikun, can we win this battle? Can the Han win? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Poisonous Man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Poisonous Man. Can win. The plain voice sounded, and Liu Bei instinctively raised his head to look at Li Ji in front of him. In the dim candlelight, Li Ji's eyes shone brightly, as if he had already seen the direction of the future. The million-yuan yellow scarf of the rolling banquet man seemed to have long been a local chicken, tile dog, and candle in the wind in Li Ji's eyes. Liu Bei was slightly stunned and asked curiously. Why is Zikun so certain? Even though Liu Bei is as resilient as Liu Bei, facing the crowd of yellow scarves that make Liu Yan hesitate, his heart is actually full of confusion and hesitation towards the unknown. Even Liu Bei learned from Liu Yan that even the now supreme emperor of the Han Dynasty was horrified by the tremendous momentum caused by the million yellow scarf, and did his utmost to guard the officials. He even ordered the lifting of party ties and persuaded a large number of party members to avoid falling towards the yellow scarf. It should be noted that in the past, Emperor Liu Hong of the Great Han Dynasty, in order to gather power and stabilize his position, he initiated the second party imprisonment. 600 to 700 officials and scholars were executed alone, and countless fled and exiled. Therefore, the lifting of party confinement by the Great Han Emperor is almost equivalent to personally slapping oneself in the face, or on the surface, it may not be as good as the self-punishment edict, but in reality, the loss of prestige and power is even greater than the self-punishment edict, indicating to what extent the Great Han Emperor was forced. Firstly, Brother Xuanda has the heart to save the world and the people, as well as the concerted efforts of Yun Chang and Ida. With one heart, he can definitely make a difference. Secondly, although the Yellow Turban Rebellion was widespread, there was actually a lack of logistics inside and few good generals outside. With a large number of people, it was still possible to defeat the enemy in one blow. Once it fell into a stalemate, it would be full of loopholes and undoubtedly a defeat. Thirdly, it is also the most important point. When Li Ji said this, his voice paused slightly and he looked at Liu Bei with bright eyes. Upon seeing this, Liu Bei bowed and said sincerely, "Please ask Zikun to teach me." Li Ji answered slowly. The Yellow Turban has lost its foundation. Even if it defeats the imperial army and invades Sili, and even captures the capital city of Luoyang, it will inevitably collapse and be defeated. Liu Bei pondered for a moment, still puzzled. Why? The Yellow Turban was originally established by Zhang Jiao, who used religion to deceive the people. On the surface, Zhang Jiao was the spiritual symbol and core pillar of the entire Yellow Turban. However, from beginning to end, the core of the Yellow Turban has always been only one, which is the people. Li Ji spoke softly. Nowadays, the yellow scarf is constantly absorbing the people and strengthening itself in a way that seems like plunder, but in reality, it is completely abandoning its own foundation. Brother Xuanda, please remember that power always comes from the bottom up, and the power that goes against the lower class is just a castle in the air. Therefore, Huang Zhan is bound to lose, even if he ultimately takes over the entire 13 provinces of the Great Han Dynasty, it will undoubtedly be defeated, and the difference only depends on time and process. Liu Bei opened his eyes wide, his gaze dull as if lost in thought. Li Ji looked at the bamboo slip in his hand and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. The Yellow Turban Rebellion was a failure, and in the end, even Sili did not invade and did not touch the foot of the royal city until his death. The high-ranking officials and nobles of Sili also did not have the opportunity to see the Yellow Turban rebels with their own eyes. More than 1,000 years later, the rebel army led by King Chuang successfully invaded the capital, killing countless high-ranking officials and nobles like chickens one after another. However, the rebel army that invaded the capital was still defeated, and the fundamental reason was that the young dragon slayer eventually became a vicious dragon, abandoning the people who were the foundation. With just a little external force and change, it was enough to disintegrate the entire rebel army's power. On the contrary, for over 300 years after the death of King Chuang, another volunteer army that always integrated into the people was successful in entrepreneurship and established an unprecedented foundation. So, in Li Ji's view, the downfall of Huang Zhan and Chuang Wang fundamentally cannot escape their betrayal of their fundamental principles. When the Yellow Turban Rebellion began to plunder the people and strengthen itself, it was already destined for defeat, and it had completely transformed from the Yellow Turban Rebellion to the Yellow Turban Thieves. Defeat was only a matter of time. After a long time, Liu Bei's somewhat relaxed gaze gradually regained its radiance and he said, Zikun instructed that one should never forget their original intention, prioritize benevolence, establish oneself with virtue, and remain steadfast until death. So, can Brother Xuanda regain his confidence? Li Ji asked with a smile. We must win. Even if we die in this battle, there will still be more Li Xuanda, Chen Xuanda, and Zhao Xuanda defeating Huang Zhan, Liu Bei replied loudly. What is the current scale of the rebel army formed by Brother Xuanda? Li Ji asked. There were 2,000 brave soldiers with complete weapons, as well as 50 horses and 100 dan of grain and grass gifted by Zhongshan businessman Zhang Shiping. With just 1 or 2 more days of preparation, they would have the strength to fight. Liu Bei replied. Upon hearing these words, Li Ji began to make basic judgments in his heart. If all the weapons are ready, then there is no armor. 100 dan of grain and grass means there is no more grain and grass left. The power of World War I is probably that even a little more fighting in battle will lead to self-defeat. However, this is also normal. Even though the people of Yuzhou are simple and fierce, they are just hastily formed rebels. Reality is not a game. With just a click of the mouse, consuming food, grass, and money will immediately yield standard soldiers calculated by units. Normally, it takes nearly a year to train a group of prohibited soldiers. If it is a truly strong and elite army, it cannot even be accumulated simply in time. Commander-in-chief, number of times in battle, combat experience, and so on are all important factors. Of course, Huang Jinzhong's side is even more delicious. Nearly 80% of the elderly, weak, women, and children can be considered unarmed, and most of the young adults who were looted are just agricultural tools. Only the true Yellow Turban thieves have weapons, and according to the intelligence compiled by Zhang Fei, nearly 100,000 Yellow Turban soldiers can hardly find a few pairs of armor. This is also normal. Although it is not strictly prohibited for the people to hold iron weapons, ordinary people naturally do not have the ability to independently build weapons, and almost all related to iron weapons are just agricultural tools. And the Yellow Turban thieves were originally just a group of poor people, so naturally they couldn't be so arrogant that they could distribute as many weapons as they plundered as many people. As for armor, concealing it privately is a great crime of plagiarism and extermination, and the number of armor privately kept by the people is even smaller. However, Li Ji had no intention of belittling the Yellow Turban crowd at all. When the quantity reaches a certain level, even stones can still kill people. If Li Ji were the commander of this group of yellow turbans, he would always maintain the entire yellow turbans in a semi-hungry state, and every time he captured a territory, he would reward him with a full meal. In addition, the constantly religious brainwashing method is referred to as obeying the divine decree to conquer areas that cannot be followed, further deceiving oneself. Through multiple physical and mental lashes, a group of fanatical soldiers have been forged against human weaknesses. And as long as there is enough fanaticism, even the elderly, weak, women and children can kill people. In a sense, in Li Ji's view, the top-down approach of the Yellow Turban Army was too immature, not resolute enough, not thorough enough, and did not fully tap into the true potential of its own special model. Wait, I'm not the commander of the Yellow Turban Thief. Why make this assumption? Li Ji gently rubbed his eyebrows and suddenly regained consciousness, thinking about how to solve the yellow scarf crowd in front of him. Similarly, Liu Bei is also contemplating this issue at this moment. The prefect Liu Yan, who was determined to defend Zhuxian, would not provide any reinforcements to Liu Bei. Liu Bei could only rely on 2,000 newly recruited volunteers. 2,000 to 100,000. Liu Bei, who had not yet truly set foot on the battlefield, couldn't help but furrow his brow at the thought of this astonishing quantity gap. Although in Li Ji's words, there seemed to be only a local chicken, tile, and dog that could be easily destroyed among the 100,000 yellow turban crowds, there was a 50-fold difference in quantity. Even if the 100,000 yellow turban crowds remained motionless and allowed to be slaughtered, they would probably not be able to kill them even if they were wielded with weapons. Finally, Liu Bei, who had been pondering for a long time without any good solutions, asked. Zikun, how can we resist 100,000? Recalling the information conveyed by Zhang Fei, Li Ji had a few directions in his heart, but he didn't have any full confidence in them. Immediately, Li Ji felt the almost fully recovered spirit after 5 days of cultivation, and once again immersed his consciousness in the strategic simulator. Despite a series of accidents, you finally managed to temporarily accompany Liu Bei as you wished. However, based on various considerations, you are no longer in a hurry to join Liu Bei immediately. What you need to do now is to prove your abilities and try to change Liu Bei's original life trajectory, so that you can achieve your own ideals and aspirations through Liu Bei. Your first priority is to help Liu Bei face the 100,000 yellow turban crowds who will arrive in Zhuo County 5 days later. Your choice is 1. To confront them head-on, 2. Set traps, 3. Seeker's surprise attack. And Li Ji's mind sensed these 3 different ideas and found that there were more detailed strategic choices in the subsequent stages of different ideas. Trapping can also be divided into water attacks, fire attacks, falling rocks, and so on. As for the branching options generated by the search engine sneak attack, there are more, such as night raids, tiring enemy rear attacks, and sneak attacks from behind when the Yellow Turban thieves attacked the city of Zhuxian. After some thought, you chose the safest option. The search for opportunities to launch a surprise attack, and because of Zhang Fei's investigation, you know that most of the 100,000 Yellow Turban people are essentially just a ragtag group. As long as you directly attack the weak areas, you may win in one battle. Therefore, under your persuasion, Liu Bei led 2,000 rebels to quietly leave the city 2 days before the arrival of the Yellow Turban army in Zhuxian. Then, leveraging the advantage of knowing the terrain, he first headed north and confused the Yellow Turban scouts lurking in Zhuxian. Then, he quietly circled back to the valley about 20 miles outside the city to hide. Due to your choice of hiding place to avoid the route of the Yellow Turban crowd, and the fact that the 2,000 people were not prominent, you successfully concealed the Yellow Turban bandits and mysteriously ambushed the rear of the Yellow Turban crowd. After the arrival of the Huangjin crowd in Zhuxian, they crazily plundered the surrounding areas for 3 days and 3 nights. The Huangjin crowd, which was originally only 50,000, quickly expanded to 200,000. Subsequently, the leaders of the Yellow Turban bandits were no longer satisfied with the gradually swept away surroundings of Zhuxian, but turned their attention to the wealthy city of Zhuxian itself. The brutal siege has begun. With an absolute advantage in quantity and in order to consume a portion of the elderly, weak, women, and children, the Yellow Turban thief leader drove a large number of Yellow Turban people to surround the city of Zhuxian on all sides, and then began to attack the city with extremely simple siege equipment. Both the elderly and women and children had to die one after another in the city of Zhuxian under the threat and intimidation of the Yellow Turban thieves, who were serving as the supervising troops. The siege lasted for 2 days, and with an advantage of 20 times the number of defenders in Zhuxian city, the Yellow Turban army bravely paved a path to break through Zhuxian city with their corpses. Just as the city gate of Zhuxian was breached and more than half of the Yellow Turban bandits and the Yellow Turban crowd flooded into the city, you had the most coveted opportunity. It was already the furious Liu Guanzhang and his 3 companions who led 2,000 righteous soldiers to charge straight towards the direction of the Yellow Turban bandit headquarters. The anger accumulated for a long time caused Liu Guanzhang, who were almost all from Zhuxian, and 2,000 righteous soldiers to erupt into an astonishing force, almost rushing straight towards the direction of the Yellow Turban thief headquarters. More than half of the more than 100,000 Huangjin people have entered the city of Zhuxian, and the more than half of the Huangjin people who are stranded outside the city are also in a chaotic formation with no order to speak of. Therefore, the Yellow Turban Rebellion led by Liu Guanzhang, who were dozens of times larger than the rebels, failed to make any effective obstruction, and ultimately allowed Liu Guanzhang and the 3 of them to smoothly charge to the headquarters of the Yellow Turban thief head and successfully execute the Yellow Turban thief head. Suddenly, the Yellow Turban crowd went into chaos. The Yellow Turban crowd who witnessed this scene began to scatter and flee, but more than half of the Yellow Turban crowd who entered the city of Zhuxian had already fallen into madness, constantly burning, killing, and looting in the city. Although Liu Guanzhang and his 3 companions also urgently entered the city to quell the rebellion, the military gap caused by the almost complete death and injury of the defending army in Zhuxian was unable to quell the aftermath in a short period of time. This chaos lasted for 2 days, and the entire city of Zhuxian was restored to basic order. However, not only was the outside of Zhuxian empty, but most of the buildings in the city were also burned to ashes, and nearly half of the people in the city died in the chaos. Even Liu Yan, who was the governor, died under the butcher's knife of the Yellow Turban thief. The rebel army led by Liu Bei also suffered almost complete losses in the aftermath of the subsequent pacification, and was no longer able to gather the Yellow Turban captives, which was also extremely devastating. And for the remaining half of the year, Liu Guanzhang had to maneuver around Zhuo County to eliminate the remnants of the Yellow Turban party. However, this completely deviates from your plan to pacify Huangjin in Zhuo County and then head south to Jizhou. In the end, as the Yellow Turban Rebellion gradually subsided throughout the country, Liu Guanzhang and the others made remarkable achievements in resisting the Yellow Turban Rebellion in Zhuo County, and each received rewards from the imperial court. Among them, due to the destruction caused by the Yellow Turban Rebellion, the entire Zhuo County was almost empty, and no prefect was willing to take over this mess. The court even directly appointed Liu Bei as the prefect of Zhuo County. However, due to your successful strategy using countless fellow townspeople in Zhuxian as bait, it gradually distanced yourself from Liu Guanzhang, who valued his fellow townspeople. Although Liu Bei respected you throughout his life, he rarely asked about you, thinking that you were too willing to sacrifice yourself for success and harm Tianhe evaluation. A plan was made to make Liu Bei weaker than tens of times stronger, and then your reputation spread to the ears of the feudal lords. Due to being too ruthless and willing to sacrifice the lives of his fellow townsmen to achieve personal success, he was dubbed a poisonous scholar by the world, especially surpassing Jia Su. But due to the conflict of ideas between you and the protagonist Liu Bei, you were ultimately unable to showcase your talents in this era, which has also caused great regret for many future generations who revere your reputation as an electric fraudster. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Daxing, Daxing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Daxing, Daxing what? Li Ji. Upon seeing the final evaluation, Li Ji felt a question mark in his mind. wondering why he had achieved such success all at once. Poisonous person. Where did I get poisoned? Shouldn't we blame Liu Yan for being too incompetent? Even resisting the Yellow Turban crowd for a few more days and forcing them to reveal their flaws cannot be achieved. Li Ji was filled with helplessness in his heart, realizing that even though his original intention was not to sacrifice most of the people of Zhuo County, in exchange for the opportunity to defeat the Yellow Turban thieves with a single blow. But when the rebel army led by Liu Guanzhang lurked outside the city, it was almost an inevitable result. After all, Li Ji is in an absolute rational state in the strategy simulator, deduction state. Not to mention burying the people of Zhuo County, as long as he can achieve the predetermined goal of the strategy, he will not hesitate to use himself and Liu Bei as bait. The difference in military strength is almost 100 times greater, and only by seizing the chaos caused by the Yellow Turban thieves breaking through the city and starting to burn, kill, and loot, can we have the opportunity to defeat the Yellow Turban thieves' headquarters in one fell swoop before the rest of the Yellow Turban crowd could save them. Win 100 times stronger with weakness. In one fell swoop, defeating 200,000 Yellow Turban soldiers by a score of 2,000. It can be imagined that even if the Yellow Turban Rebellion were a true triad, it would inevitably make the reputations of Liu Guanzhang and Li Ji very famous, and even Liu Bei was appointed as the prefect of a frontier official after the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Li Ji also made a name for himself in the annals of history through this strategy, but also became infamous for thousands of years. Li secretly gave up this choice. Even though Li doesn't care about his so-called reputation, for him, the sacrifice of the flesh and blood of the people of Zhuoxian was too heavy. Moreover, once this strategy is implemented, it will also become Li ultimate strategy in the Liu Bei group, which Li, who has ambitious goals, cannot accept. However, the result of this simulation also showed Li the possibility of winning by directly attacking the headquarters of the Yellow Turban thief. To defeat the strong with weakness, or to face a complex enemy like the Yellow Turban army, this may be the best and only choice. At this point, just as Li was preparing to make other choices in the strategy simulator, he suddenly felt a piercing pain in his brain. This allowed Li to easily exit the strategy simulator and let out a muffled groan. Liu Bei looked at Li gaze for a moment, then his face suddenly turned much whiter, and he quickly expressed concern. Zikun. Brother Xuanda, I'm fine. Li said a sentence, but his eyebrows slightly furrowed. Compared to the deduction limited to oneself and Liu Guanzhang, has the consumption become so significant this time due to the direct involvement of 200,000 Huangjin people and the people of Zhuo County. This is like running the same program, but the more data and information it needs to process, the greater the computational capacity and consumption it will naturally consume. Even though Li had been mentally prepared for this, he never expected that with just one deduction, his spirit would almost reach its limit. Li will no longer force a second deduction to avoid the situation of mental exhaustion and fainting again. Moreover, Li does not overly rely on strategy simulators, but rather uses them for trial and error to avoid any flaws in his ideas. For example, using the city of Zhuoxian as bait and seeking opportunities to behead the headquarters of the Yellow Turban thief, this was a highly feasible decision that Li had prepared in the past few days. It has been proven that this plan can indeed help Liu Guanzhang defeat the Yellow Turban Rebellion, but the consequences are far more serious than Li initial estimate. And Liu Bei, who had a delicate mind, couldn't tell that Li spirit was significantly worse than just now. Therefore, even though Liu Bei was extremely anxious about the Yellow Turban crowd at this moment and urgently wanted Li guidance, he still comforted them gently. Zikun, since you're feeling unwell, please rest first and be prepared. Upon hearing these words, Li couldn't help but feel a warmth in his heart, but he directly raised his hand to interrupt Liu Bei's words and said. Brother Xuanda, just now I just deduced some situations, there's no major problem. Immediately, Li raised a candle in one hand and pulled Liu Bei to the topographic map of Zhuo County on the wall in a corner of the room, saying. The Yellow Turban has a great power and cannot defeat the enemy. Only by attacking its weaknesses can one battle be determined. Liu Bei nodded and understood that his 2,000 rebel troops would collide head-on with the Yellow Turban army, and they would probably be defeated in one blow. This matter is known to everyone, and the number of 100,000 Yellow Turbans is truly astonishing. There won't be 100,000. Li Ji shook his head and said. The number of yellow scarves in the messages transmitted by Ida may reach up to 100,000, but when they reach the surrounding area of Zhuo County, based on the basic view, about half remain. Li Ji was quite certain about this sentence. Perhaps the information conveyed by Zhang Fei only described that there were elderly, weak, women, and children falling behind along the way of the Yellow Turban crowd, but it is also difficult for others to be certain of the specific dropout rate of the Yellow Turban crowd. However, Li Ji had already drawn this conclusion from the deduction of the strategy simulator just now. 50,000. Liu Bei was somewhat surprised by how Li Ji calculated this number, but out of blind confidence in the astonishing deductive ability that had already been verified to be 1,000 miles away, Liu Bei chose to believe Li Ji's statement without any burden. However, even if it's 50,000, that's quite an astonishing amount. Liu Bei murmured and said. Just like when an ant faces an elephant, there is not much difference in whether the elephant is a baby elephant or an adult elephant. Indeed, even if there is only 50,000 left, it is something we cannot defeat. Li Ji squinted his eyes and spoke. However, one thing can also be certain is that we cannot allow the Yellow Turban thieves to reach the surrounding areas of Zhuo County. Otherwise, with the population of Zhuo County, the number of 50,000 will rapidly expand to 100,000 to 200,000, and even more. So, the decisive battle must be fought outside of Zhuo County, no matter what. Li Ji said firmly, which on the contrary made Liu Bei hesitate a little, and suggested not confident. Zikun, in this way, we will become a lone army. If we follow Bei's plan, why not lead 2,000 people out of the city to find a place that is easy to defend but difficult to attack and build a camp, forming a fierce confrontation with the city of Zhuoxian? It has to be said that Liu Bei's proposal can also be considered mature and persistent. Within the city walls of Zhuoxian, there are 10,000 soldiers from various counties. Ideally, Liu Bei would lead 2,000 rebels to set up camps outside and form a defensive position to support each other. In this way, it can threaten the Yellow Turban people who dare not attack one side with all their might, and they need to constantly block the other side to cover them from the side. With the poor logistical situation of the Yellow Turban army, as long as they enter a prolonged battle, they will undoubtedly be defeated. However, Li Ji shook his head and asked in reverse. Brother Xuanda, we cannot entrust our hope to Governor Liu Yan. He may no longer have the heart to leave the city. In this way, even if we establish a camp outside the city, it will be no different from a solitary army. In theory, Liu Bei's suggestion is feasible, but that also depends on who his teammates are competing against each other. In the situation where the teammate is Liu Yan, any petty talk is baseless and will only allow the Yellow Turban thieves to catch Liu Guanzhang's chicken feet, leading to irreparable harm. This made Liu Bei's expression appear somewhat hesitant. Ultimately, it was the astonishing number of Yellow Turban soldiers that caused great psychological pressure on Liu Bei, which in turn made him reluctant to give up his advantage in the city and potentially become the aid of 10,000 county soldiers. Normally, an ordinary person would feel timid when faced with 10 big men, let alone now that Liu Bei needs to lead the rebel army to actively confront enemies dozens of times greater. Upon seeing this, Li Ji lit up another fire. Brother Xuanda, even if you and the prefect Liu Yan can form a fierce conflict without strengthening the walls and clearing the fields in advance, the Yellow Turban thieves do not choose to attack the cities and camps, but each leave a part to support them, while the rest plunder the surrounding areas of Zhuo County. What should we do? As soon as Liu Bei said this, his gaze first froze, and then he realized the seriousness of the problem. The Yellow Turban thieves are different from ordinary armies. Ordinary armies plunder the surrounding areas mostly for money and food, but the Yellow Turban thieves will absorb a large number of people to enrich themselves. In this way, the so-called stalemate only provides the Yellow Turban thief with sufficient opportunities to strengthen themselves. Even if we win the Yellow Turban thief in the end, the entire surrounding area of Zhuo County may be completely empty. Choosing between increasing his own risk and the safety of his fellow villagers in Zhuoxian, Liu Bei almost hesitated for a moment before making a decision, speaking with a firm gaze. Zikun's words are true. This battle is not only to defeat the enemy, but also to protect the people. Therefore, no matter what, the Yellow Turban thieves must be blocked outside Zhuo County. Li Ji, on the other hand, refers to an area on the map where Daxing Mountain and Juma River intersect in the southern part of Zhuo County. Nowadays, the Yellow Turban people have probably reached the vicinity of Fanyang, but afterwards it is a plain with few dangers to defend. Only in the north, near Zhuo County, there is Daxing Mountain and a downstream area of Juma River, which can be taken advantage of geographical advantages. Liu Bei squinted his eyes and looked carefully at the topographic map of the wall under the candlelight. Looking around, the terrain from Fanyang to Zhuoxian is mostly plain. If the Yellow Turban crowd were allowed to spread it recklessly, there would be a difference of tens of times in the number of people. Even a single person with just a mouthful of saliva could drown Liu Bei, these 2,000 people. Only the rugged terrain in the area where Daxing Mountain meets Juma River can significantly limit the numerical advantage of the Yellow Turban people. And according to Li Ji's prediction of the Yellow Turban Army's marching route, Daxing Mountain is also an area that the Yellow Turban Army finds difficult to bypass. Unfortunately, Daxing Mountain cannot be considered a battleground that is easy to defend but difficult to attack. Otherwise, we could set up a camp there or forcefully block the Yellow Turban Army outside of Zhuo County. Liu Bei sighed with some helplessness. Li Ji said a sentence. Brother Xuanda, it's not because of the base's unwillingness to use grandiose means, but the gap between us and the enemy is so great that we cannot win unless we take risks. Ultimately, it's because Bei is too weak, otherwise why bother with Zikun? Liu Bei said with some guilt. Gee, I just want to contribute to the people of Zhuo County. Brother Xuanda and I are fellow travelers on the same path. Li Ji took the initiative to comfort Liu Bei, while his gaze continued to shine as he continued to look at Daxing Mountain on the map, whispering in a low voice. Daxing, Daxing. The name of this place is quite good, and it is the beginning of our Daxing. Even without the use of a strategic simulator, Li Ji knew that after giving up the option of using the city as bait, Daxing Mountain was undoubtedly the last barrier to preserve the people of Zhuo County. Once the Yellow Turban Army crosses the Daxing Mountain, the vast plain area will allow the Yellow Turban Army to plunder the entire Zhuo County at will, and the astonishing number will be difficult for just 2,000 rebels to resist. As Liu Bei's intention was settled, he hurriedly left Li Ji's room and went to find Guan Yu to discuss the reorganization of the army. The next morning, in the morning, Liu Bei and Guan Yu stood up and began the final reorganization, raising supplies and supplies. Due to Liu Bei and Guan Yu's lack of experience in commanding troops for the first time, it was not until the afternoon that they were able to complete the entire army. Just as Liu Bei was preparing to lead his army to set off, the news of the appearance of the Yellow Turban thief from Fanyang also reached Zhuo County. Especially for some wealthy merchants with relatively extensive information channels, they know that the Yellow Turban thieves are coming aggressively, seemingly heading straight towards Zhuo County, which is the capital of Zhuo County. Perhaps the lower class of the people still have no idea, but the wealthy merchants in Zhuoxian are already a sign of panic. When Liu Bei led the rebel army to prepare to leave the city, what he saw was an endless stream of large vehicles rushing out of the city, even blocking the city gate. Escape. Obviously, these wealthy merchants began to flee without hesitation. This is also where the notorious reputation of the Yellow Turban lies today. Wherever it passes, all the people absorb it, and all the powerful landlords, officials, and merchants are almost wiped out. How can this prevent the wealthy merchants from panic and fear? Upon hearing the name of the Yellow Turban thief, they immediately began to flee crazily, which also made the prefect Liu Yan, who was standing at the gate of Zhuo County, feel anxious. Originally, Liu Yan deliberately blocked the specific information of the Yellow Turban crowd in an attempt to bind the powerful landlords of the entire Zhuo County together and use their power to defend the city. However, it was unexpected that after the arrival of the Huangjin crowd in Fanyang, some news still spread back to Zhuoxian, causing the already anxious wealthy landlords to flee crazily. And Colonel Zhou Jing, standing next to Liu Yan, the prefect of Zhuo County, noticed Liu Yan's expression and suggested in a low voice. "Sir, why don't we close the city gate in advance?" "No way." Liu Yan waved his hand and said. "The name, Yellow Turban, is so vicious. Now they are all focused on fleeing. If the old man orders the blockade of the city gate now, it will solidify the power of Yellow Turban and cause even greater chaos. Even if a rebellion is launched to leave the city, it may not be possible." Perhaps Liu Yan had no knowledge of military affairs, but as a Han family relative who held the position of governor, he had a considerable understanding of politics and human nature. These wealthy landlords may fear the yellow scarf, but they will not fear the governor. After all, the yellow scarf is used to lift the table directly, while the prefect needs to follow the rules. Upon hearing this, Zhou Jing could only helplessly watch as the large cars below continued to push towards the city gate. Suddenly, Zhou Jing saw a large group of figures at the end of the team. With his eyes narrowed, he pointed towards them and said, "Wait, sir, look over there." Liu Yan looked in the direction pointed out by Zhou Jing and saw Liu Bei leading 2,000 rebels, his face immediately turning black. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Joint Military Decree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Joint Military Decree. At this moment, Liu Bei, who was leading his team to leave the city, looked at the blocked city gate and felt extremely anxious. After discussing with Li Ji to place the battlefield on Daxing Mountain, the earlier Liu Bei can arrive at Daxing Mountain, the more he can gain a certain advantage in advance. Being stuck here now is a waste of time, which really adds a touch of helplessness to Liu Bei's gentle face. However, these wealthy landlords who sought refuge outside the city range from 5 or 6 chariots to more than a dozen chariots, with accompanying servants ranging from hundreds to hundreds, and some even reaching a size of up to 1,000. Although the rebel army led by Liu Bei also had 2,000 people, their shabby appearance from top to bottom was actually met with the contempt of some wealthy landlords around them. Zikun, if these wealthy landlords are willing to contribute all their strength to resist the Yellow Turban thieves, why should the Yellow Turban thieves be afraid of them? Liu Bei's tone was somewhat complex and authentic. It turns out that in the vast Zhuo County, there is not a complete lack of strength to compete with the Yellow Turban thieves who are nothing but a rabble, but they have no intention of resisting it. At this moment, Li Ji, riding on a white horse, was carefully pulling the reins with both hands. Although Li Ji had been to an equestrian club for a period of time out of interest in his past life, he had sufficient protection measures and had a stirrup saddle compared to his past life. In this era, horses do not yet have that kind of thing, and it is entirely necessary to rely on horsemanship to control them. It is not funny to accidentally fall off a horse. Fortunately, the white horse under Li Ji's crotch was also gentle in temperament. After trying to control it for a while, Li Ji's originally nervous heart slowed down a bit and turned to look at Liu Bei, whose face was full of complexity. At this moment, Li Ji could quite understand the complexity that had arisen in Liu Bei's heart. It's nothing more than Liu Bei risking everything with his 2 sworn brothers to protect his fellow villagers and elders in Zhuo County, fighting to the death and preparing to stop the Yellow Turban thief outside of Zhuo County. However, as the governor, Liu Yan, out of many concerns, decided to stick to the city. But these local wealthy landlords in Zhuoxian were also determined to flee, which inevitably left Liu Bei with a sense of discrepancy in his heart. Perhaps at this moment, Liu Bei's psychology is as complex as Cao Cao's inner self in the face of the angry roar of the Marquis Dong that the vertical sun is not worth plotting. Brother Xuanda, actually this is also very easy to understand. Li Ji scanned the group of wealthy landlords and spoke up. Romanticists who are willing to sacrifice their family business and stay in Zhuxian to live and die with the lower class people, or temporarily abandon some industries and move to a safe place, are ultimately a minority. Romanticism is something that people aspire to, but it is also a minority. Obviously, Liu Guanzhang and his three companions can be considered as representative figures of romanticism in this era, with righteousness, benevolence, and the revival of the Han Dynasty running through their entire lives. This is also the main reason why Li Ji recognizes and intends to choose Liu Bei. Compared to Cao Cao, who slaughtered the city 8 times in his life, Liu Bei's most questionable life was nothing more than a hypocrite, plotting personal gain under the guise of reviving the Han Dynasty. However, Liu Bei, who had been in turmoil for half his life in history, finally established the Shu Han regime. However, he was willing to gamble on national luck to raise troops for revenge in order to avenge his sworn brother, until he died of illness in the White Emperor city. Throughout his life, Liu Bei never coveted power, and he also gained recognition from Zhuge Liang and Pang Tong in the name of benevolence, which shows that he is not a so-called hypocrite. Romanticists. Listening to this somewhat strange noun, Liu Bei was momentarily taken aback, and then he roughly understood the meaning it pointed to. What about Zikun? Liu Bei asked in reverse. Ji is also a romanticist. Li Ji smiled and said. However, it is evident that these wealthy landlords are not romanticists, or their romantic pursuits do not care about protecting the people, but rather about revitalizing their families. A group of shallow people, Guan Yu said proudly. Yun Chang doesn't need to be so extreme. This is the vast majority of human nature, just to drive it away. Li Ji's attitude towards this is clearly quite calm. After all, the wealthy landlords and the lower-class people belong to different social classes. In times of crisis, the lower-class people have no chance to escape, but it is meaningless to intentionally resent these wealthy landlords for seeking benefits and avoiding harm. On the other hand, decisions similar to those made by Liu Guanzhang undoubtedly appear precious. After pondering for a long time, Liu Bei let out a slow sigh, as if he understood something. He seemed more calm and no longer blamed these wealthy landlords, but patiently waited to leave the city. However, just as it was finally about time for the rebel army led by Liu Bei to leave the city, a large number of county soldiers surrounded from left and right, faintly making a defensive posture. This newly established rebel army suddenly experienced some unrest. Calm down. Liu Bei let out a loud shout, briefly stabilized his military morale, and then looked up above the city gate. Lu Yan and Zhou Jing were standing above the city gate, coldly looking down at Liu Bei below. Immediately, Liu Bei dismounted and bowed in the direction of Lu Yan, bowing his hand and saying, "Uncle, what does this mean?" Previously, Liu Bei visited Lu Yan under the guise of forming a rebel army. Considering that Liu Bei was also a relative of the Han family, Lu Yan attempted to win over Liu Bei under the title of righteous nephew. Despite being respectfully referred to as uncle by Liu Bei, Lu Yan's gaze remained quite cold, looking down at Liu Bei below and saying, "Xuanda, where do you want to go?" "Bei, Zheng intends to lead the rebel army out of the city to hunt down thieves." "What thief?" "Yellow Turban thief." As soon as Liu Bei's voice came out, the entire city gate suddenly fell into a moment of silence, and then bursts of laughter began to ring from time to time. Ha ha ha. Amidst the laughter that seemed to mock Liu Bei's overestimation, Liu Bei remained expressionless, but the palm hidden in his sleeve unconsciously clenched. Even Lu Yan's once majestic face had a faint smile on it, and then he waved his hand and said, "All right, Xuanda. Uncle also knows that you have a heart for serving the country, but the Yellow Turban bandits are powerful and need to be considered in the long run. Do not act lightly. You can lead the rebel army back to your base, but if you need to help kill the enemy, Uncle will summon you." Liu Bei bowed and bowed again. "Uncle, I am very clear about what I am doing." After being publicly refuted by Liu Bei, Liu Yan's expression, which had previously shown a slight smile, once again cooled down. Then, he scanned the 2,000 rebel soldiers behind Liu Bei and said, "Xuanda, you 2,000 rebels have no armor and few bows and crossbows. What kind of thieves can you kill?" If it weren't for Liu Yan, he would still need to stabilize the people's hearts in Zhuo County and not publicly disclose the number of Yellow Turban people he knows. Otherwise, Liu Yan would have almost said that Liu Bei's 2,000 so-called rebels were just a praying mantis blocking the way. Liu Bei naturally understood the meaning behind Liu Yan's words, and even Liu Yan was questioning whether Liu Bei was leading the rebel army out of the city at this moment not to suppress thieves, but to preserve his strength, and even to prepare to lead 2,000 people into bandits. However, before Liu Bei could refute and explain, Li Ji quietly tugged at the corner of his clothes, and then a sentence passed into Liu Bei's ear. "Military order, requesting identity." This sentence instantly calmed Liu Bei down and made him understand what Li Ji meant. Begging for identity. This is the most important point. You should know that both Liu Guanzhang and Li Ji are just white-skinned nowadays. Even though Liu Bei claimed to be a relative of the Han family, and had become the leader of the rebel army, he still couldn't change the fact that he was still a mere white soldier. In this era, the importance of identity is extremely important. In the late Eastern Han Dynasty, among the various feudal lords of various sizes, there was often a starting point for a local governor. Even Cao Cao, who came from a humble background, actually had his father Cao Song serving as one of the grand commandants of the three princes. Although the value of the three nobles at the top of the pyramid of the official system in the late Eastern Han Dynasty greatly decreased, it is also enough to indicate that the Cao Cao family was also much more prominent than the real humble family. After the end of the Yellow Turban Rebellion, Cao Cao directly held the position of Prime Minister of Jinan, equivalent to a prefect, and governed more than 10 counties. In addition, Sun Jian, who also led more than 1,000 people to follow Zhu Ju in his campaign against the Yellow Turban Rebellion, was also promoted to the position of Sima of other tribes. He was then appointed as the governor of Changsha by the imperial court 3 years later. However, Liu Bei, who was fighting for the Yellow Turban as a rebel, was only a county lieutenant in the original trajectory, and even did not find a county magistrate. The huge gap can be imagined. Therefore, Li Ji specifically reminded Liu Bei to seize this opportunity and now grab an official position from Liu Yan's hands. Of course, Liu Bei was not as far away as Li Ji thought, just thinking that Li Ji was reminding him that he could gain Liu Yan's trust and leave the city through a military order. "Uncle, be prepared to know that the Yellow Turban is approaching, or that the people in Zhuoxian City will not be harmed by the Yellow Turban thieves in the short term, but there are countless parents and fellow villagers outside the city. How can you ignore them?" Bei also knows the power of the Yellow Turban thieves, but he is not afraid of death, only afraid of the people being harmed by the Yellow Turban thieves. Therefore, he is determined to lead 2,000 rebels out of the city to fight against the thieves. This statement was deeply emotional and deeply moved by Liu Bei. For a moment, not only were the powerful landlords waiting to leave the city, but the rebels also felt a surge of excitement. Standing on the city wall, Liu Yan also furrowed his brows, somewhat doubting his own judgment, whether he had misunderstood Liu Bei's intentions. However, when Liu Yan thought of the current shortage of troops in the city, he still exclaimed. His heart is commendable, but acting recklessly not only harms the Qing's life, but also implicates the 2,000 rebels. As the governor of Zhuo County, how can I allow you to act recklessly? Upon hearing this, Liu Bei gritted his teeth and spoke. "Uncle, I am willing to issue a military order." A military order. This statement shocked Liu Yan quite a bit. Generally speaking, the consequences of violating a military order can be extremely serious. In the illusion of shedding tears and beheading Ma Su, Zhuge Liang had to behead Ma Su because Ma Su had previously issued a military order. Throughout the late Han Dynasty, only Xiahou Dun served as a toilet paper in the form of a military order, and his defeat not only caused no trouble, but also led to his official promotion. Xuanda, with your bare body, what are you using to make a military order? Can you bear the lives of these 2,000 rebels alone? Lu Yan asked in a leisurely manner. The contemptuous tone conveyed by these words, both inside and outside, made Liu Bei's face slightly flushed. Perhaps others may have a high regard for Liu Bei's identity as the Empress Dowager of Zhongshan Jingwang, but as a Han family relative recognized by the imperial court and holding the position of prefect, Liu Yan simply did not value Liu Bei's white body. Upon seeing this, Guan Yu's slightly narrowed eyes showed a hint of killing intent, and then he took a step forward, not bowing to Liu Yan, but speaking loudly. Guan is also willing to establish a military order with his elder brother. Who are you? Liu Yan asked again, obviously not taking the inconspicuous Guan Yu seriously. However, what Liu Yan did not expect was that his series of words invisibly angered the 2,000 rebels. Almost every one of these 2,000 rebel soldiers was personally recruited by Liu Bei. Perhaps Liu Bei could not be called a soldier, but he possessed an indescribable personal charm, which made these 2,000 rebel soldiers highly respected in their hearts. The current debate beneath the city gate not only exposed the shamelessness of Liu Yan, a foreign official, but also highlighted Liu Bei's benevolence and righteousness. In the eyes of these volunteer soldiers from Zhuxian, what Liu Bei did was entirely to protect the villagers and elders of Zhuxian. He spared no expense in scattering his family wealth and risking his life to issue a military order. However, although Liu Yan spoke with great righteousness, those wealthy landlords who left the city unobstructed, which further hindered Liu Bei and undoubtedly showed ulterior motives. I am also willing to follow Lord Liu and issue a military order. First, there was a rather scattered sound or two, and then this sentence became even more neat and loud among the rebels. The loud voice that erupted from the last 2,000 people echoed through almost half of Zhuo County, causing some cowardly people who witnessed this scene to turn pale. Upon hearing this, Liu Bei was deeply moved and turned to bow and salute the rebels. What kind of virtue and what kind of ability can I have? Let all of you show such affection. I hereby swear to live and die together with all of you. In response to Liu Bei, one volunteer soldier after another knelt down on one knee, expressing their determination to follow Liu Bei in defending Zhuo County. This scene made Li Ji's heart tremble uncontrollably, and he secretly exclaimed that military morale was useful. At the same time, I couldn't help but admire Liu Bei's unique personality charm. Although Liu Bei quickly gathered the hearts of 2,000 rebels due to the advantage of fellow townspeople, and everything he did was to protect Zhuo County, it also showed Liu Bei's personal charm invisibly. In contrast, Li Ji believed that he lacked such charm and infectiousness. It is no wonder that in history, Liu Bei has suffered repeated defeats but has always been followed by a group of monarchs, officials, and soldiers. And all the rebels, including Liu Bei and Guan Yu, were willing to issue military orders, which also forced Liu Yan into a quite embarrassing situation. If he were to back down, even Liu Bei, who was just plain-skinned, would dare not respect the order of Liu Yan, who was the prefect. How could Liu Yan still have any dignity in the future? But he remained resolute in keeping these 2,000 rebels. Seeing that these 2,000 rebels were willing to follow Liu Bei's military orders, Liu Yan also understood that not only could these 2,000 rebels be used for himself, but even staying in the city could be a hidden danger. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Sect's Supervisor Chao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Sect's Supervisor Chao. A dilemma of dilemma. This is the feeling that Liu Yan, as the governor of Zhuo County, feels at this moment. What makes Liu Yan even more resentful is that every word and sentence of Liu Bei prioritizes benevolence, virtue, and righteousness. This invisibly highlights that Liu Yan, who was born as a governor, is a person who cares about the safety of the people in vain. How amazing is the power of the yellow scarf! How many states and counties have been lost, and countless officials and scholars have fled, from high-ranking officials in the court to various feudal officials, everyone is in danger. Under such a dangerous situation, Liu Yan believed that he had been able to do his best to defend the city of Zhuo County without any mistakes. Due to the angle issue, Li Ji couldn't quite see Liu Yan's expression standing in the city tower, but he could vaguely guess his thoughts. As the prefect, Liu Yan was afraid of the Yellow Turban and dared not go out of the city to resist. The volunteer army led by a mere 2,000 soldiers dared to die, which was like slapping Liu Yan in the face. Immediately, Li Ji spoke loudly. "Brother Xuande, you are neither an official nor a military official. What qualifications do you have to issue a military order? Besides, the Grand Commandant is only concerned about our lives. Why be so excited?" As soon as he spoke, Liu Yan's expression softened slightly, and his gaze shifted to the white-clad scholar standing next to Liu Bei. "Who are you?" Liu Yan asked. Li Ji, styled Zikun, from Zhuoxian, pays his respects to the prefect. Li Ji bowed in response. With the steps handed over by Li Ji, Liu Yan, who was in a dilemma, naturally couldn't help but answer. He looked at Li Ji's attire and spoke along the way. "You're a good scholar, you know my intentions. Please forgive Brother Xuande for his recklessness, Grand Preceptor. This is because Brother Xuande was worried that the people outside the city would be harmed by the Yellow Turban thieves, and he had already lost control." Li Ji said. "How could I blame Xuande? It's just that I see Xuande as a nephew in my family, which makes me a little anxious." With the tacit cooperation between Li Ji and Liu Yan, the tense atmosphere at the city gate quickly eased. And it quickly escalated the issue of Liu Yan wasting the lives of the people outside the city and preventing Liu Bei from leaving the city to kill thieves to the level of Liu Yan's family affairs, allowing Liu Yan to save face. But as he lived up to his dignity, Liu Yan also looked down upon the 2,000 rebels who were obedient to Liu Bei's words and prepared to find an excuse to let Liu Bei lead these 2,000 rebels out of the city on his own. Whether Liu Bei is greedy for life and afraid of death, planning to lead these 2,000 people to stand on his own mountain, or really wanting to lead these 2,000 people to die, Liu Yan, who is already anxious about the Yellow Turban thief, is too lazy to pay attention to it at this moment. However, before Liu Yan could speak up and send Liu Bei out of the city, Li Ji spoke up first. "I also know that the Grand Preceptor sympathizes with his own nephew and does not want Brother Xuande to venture out of the city. However, as a relative of the Han family, Brother Xuande naturally does not want to take a step back due to fear of death, as the people are in danger. Nowadays, the prefect holds the heavy responsibility of countless people's lives in Zhuo County, and he dare not act lightly. Why not agree to Brother Xuande's idea? Can Brother Xuande, on behalf of the prefect, go out of the city to protect the people? If Brother Xuande does something, it can also alleviate the suffering of the prefect's inability to sleep night and night due to his concern for the people outside the city." This series of well-founded and righteous statements made Liu Yan couldn't help but take a deep look at Li Ji. Why has such an eloquent person never heard of their name in the past? At first, when Li Ji deliberately stepped up the steps to save face for Liu Yan did not attach much importance to Li Ji. However, after these words, Liu Yan's gaze towards Li Ji inevitably changed slightly. The people, soldiers, and even Liu Bei and Guan Yu present only saw the righteous side of Li Ji, but Liu Yan, who had been immersed in the officialdom for many years, could hear the implied meaning and the exchange of interests hidden under the righteous words. Li Ji first pointed out that Liu Bei, as a relative of the Han family, was not afraid of death for the people outside the city. If Liu Yan, as a member of the Han family, had done nothing, even if he eventually defended Zhuo County, it would still have been easy for people to criticize him, and he would have been frequently criticized by political enemies in the future. As for the following two sentences, when did Liu Yan go out of the city to protect the people? The word die in them is very spiritual and full of metaphorical flavor. Under what circumstances can Liu Bei nominally represent Liu Yan and still be recognized for leaving the city? Furthermore, as Li Ji mentioned at the beginning, Liu Bei was neither an official nor a military official, so the implicit meaning conveyed by Li Ji was clear. To be an official, what he wanted could still represent Liu Yan to a certain extent. In addition, Li Ji also provided conditions for giving back to Liu Yan. If Liu Bei makes a difference in fighting against the Yellow Turban thieves outside the city, then a portion of the credit will naturally go to Liu Yan's head. It has to be said that Liu Yan is a bit tempted. After all, what Liu Yan needs to pay is only an official position. Even if Liu Bei doesn't do anything, Liu Yan can't be considered a loss. But if Liu Bei does something, then Liu Yan naturally earns blood. Even if Liu Bei led 2,000 rebels to die in battle outside the city of Zhuxian, what did Liu Yan lose? Even Liu Yan can use this as a political achievement to report to the court, claiming that in order to resist the Yellow Turban thief, Liu Yan even sacrificed his nephew in battle. As soon as he thought of this, Liu Yan went straight down from the city tower and walked up to Liu Bei and Li Ji, speaking with a somewhat impatient expression. "Xuande, are you really determined to go out of the city and kill the Yellow Turban thief?" "Bei, determination is like this," Liu Bei said in a deep voice. "Are you not afraid of death?" "Not afraid of death." "Okay." Liu Yan patted his palm and smiled, praising. "I am worthy of being a relative of the Han family and also worthy of being my nephew and nephew. Since Xuande has this determination, even if I am extremely reluctant to part ways, I have fulfilled Xuande's aspirations." After a pause, Liu Yan shouted loudly in public. "It's just that Xuande is now an ordinary person, and there are many flaws in leading his army out of the city. If from today on, Xuande will take on the position of the Sect Supervisor Chao, how about that?" Immediately, Liu Bei was somewhat stunned. The subordinate Supervisor Chao is not considered a true official, but rather a type of official. However, he holds considerable real power and status within a county. Normally, there are 3 officials in a county, including the county governor, county magistrate, and captain. The county magistrate is the highest official of the entire county, while the county magistrate and captain are respectively in charge of civil and military affairs to assist the county magistrate. And the subordinate Supervisor Chao is one of the 5 officials under the jurisdiction of the county governor Zhili. Normally, he is the confidant of the county governor and also an important arm for the county governor to control the entire county. Among them, the subordinate commander Chao Zhubing Wei has a certain level of leadership power, serving as both a guard responsible for patrolling the left and right of the county guard and a guard responsible for clearing out thieves within the county. In a sense, Liu Bei, who was originally an ordinary person, could almost be considered a step to the sky. More importantly, with the identity of supervising the bandits Chao, after the end of the Yellow Turban Rebellion, no matter what, he would not be appointed as a mere county magistrate. After Liu Bei realized it, he quickly bowed and responded. "Thank you, uncle. I promise to live up to my uncle's high expectations." "Very good, very good." Immediately, Liu Yan glanced at the simple leather on Liu Bei's body that only protected his chest, and the 2,000 rebels behind him were just cloth clothes. He hesitated for a moment before speaking. Since Xuande has become the commander of the bandit Chao, these 2,000 rebels will be placed under Xuande's command, and a batch of weapons and armor in the treasury will also be handed over to Xuande. Upon hearing these words, Liu Bei was truly delighted. Only Zhou Jing, who followed Liu Yan downstairs, looked a bit ugly and spoke up. "Sir, those weapons and armor are still of great use." However, before Zhou Jing could finish speaking, Liu Yan glanced and forcefully made Zhou Jing dare not continue. For Liu Yan, as the governor of Zhuo County, since he had already planned to secretly reach an exchange of interests with Li Ji, he naturally wouldn't be stingy with this little effort. More importantly, Liu Yan, who values face, also despises these rebel soldiers dressed in cloth, and does not want others to criticize his subordinates for not even having any armor. Of course, Liu Yan spoke generously, but those armor were just leather armor, which was the equipment of ordinary county soldiers. Immediately, under Liu Yan's command, Zhou Jing could only reluctantly lead Guan Yu to lead a group of rebels to the treasury to collect weapons and armor. Liu Yan, on the other hand, held Liu Bei's hand, held some family ties, and spoke some thought-provoking words, guiding Liu Bei to be extremely cautious when using troops after leaving the city. Li Ji, who witnessed on the side, couldn't help but feel a little emotional that the bloodline of the old Liu family may be inherited in this aspect. Not long ago, Liu Yan was afraid that he wanted to send Liu Bei to prison, but at this moment, he was like a worried elder who was extremely reluctant to let his nephew go on an expedition, winning people's hearts. If it weren't for Li Ji personally and secretly completing the exchange of interests with Liu Yan, even those who witnessed the entire process on both sides would have thought that the cause of the conflict was Liu Yan's excessive concern for intention with Liu Bei. Quickly, Guan Yu, who had a cheerful expression on his face, returned with 2,000 pieces of armor and weapons from the rebel army. Apart from a spear, bow, and arrow, the most important thing was the 2,000 pairs of leather armor. In addition, Guan Yu specially received 3 sets of fish-scale iron armor. Guan Yu's face was already like a heavy jujube, with phoenix eyes and silkworm's eyebrows. Before, he was dressed in ordinary cloth and leather armor, but he couldn't see anything. At this moment, Guan Yu was wearing fish-scale armor and holding the green dragon Yenhua blade, but he exuded a majestic aura. And Guan Yu walked straight to Liu Bei, handed over his fish-scale armor, and said, "Big brother, I'll help you change your armor." However, Liu Bei looked at the only 2 sets of fish-scale armor left in Guan Yu's hand, frowned, and said, "Second brother, please change Zikun's armor and leave another pair of fish-scale armor for Ida. As a brother, you don't need it anymore." Guan Yu was taken aback and immediately understood Liu Bei's meaning, thinking that Guan Yu only cared about the 3 brothers and ignored Li Ji's safety. He quickly explained, "Big brother, it's not that I forgot Mr. Zikun, but in fact, there are only 3 sets of fish-scale armor left in the treasury." Upon hearing this, Liu Bei's face softened slightly, but he still spoke up. "Then hand over my brother's fish-scale armor to Zikun." Li Ji was moved in his heart and quickly tried to dissuade him. "Brother Xuanda, I am just a literati and don't need to rush ahead. Compared to Brother Ji, Brother Xuanda needs more fish-scale armor to protect himself. Please replace it quickly." And Liu Yan, who witnessed the whole process on the side, smiled at the appropriate moment. "Xuanda, the battlefield is dangerous. How about leaving Mr. Zikun in the city? I will definitely take good care of Mr. Zikun and take care of him on behalf of Xuanda." Suddenly, Liu Bei's expression that Mount Taishan had been collapsing in front of him was unchanged, with a faint tendency to turn green. Liu Yan is not trying to help Liu Bei solve Li Ji's safety problem, clearly trying to dig a corner. Liu Bei almost instinctively wanted to say no, but when he spoke, he suddenly stopped and hesitated for a moment before turning to look at Li Ji. He gritted his teeth and said, "Zikun, the future of Bei's departure is uncertain, and his life and death are unknown. Moreover, Zikun is only a weak scholar. It's better to temporarily reside in the city. If Bei doesn't die, he will come to pick him up." Li Ji looked at Liu Bei with a slightly red expression in his eyes, both reluctant and helpless. When Liu Yan accidentally said these words, Li Ji expected that Liu Bei's reaction would generally only be 2 types. Either refuse sternly and treat Li Ji as if he were forbidden, either choose Li Ji's choice and hand it over to him. However, what Li Ji did not expect was that Liu Bei would take the initiative to persuade Li Ji to stay in the city. For a moment, Li Ji's face unconsciously showed a smile. The saying goes, seeing people's hearts over time. Although Li Ji and Liu Bei have not been together for a long time, Liu Bei's reaction not only shows kindness, but also highlights that Li Ji's safety is extremely important in Liu Bei's heart. However, the next moment Li Ji restrained his smile and said in a deep voice, "Brother Xuanda, don't underestimate me. A great man born between heaven and earth should bring a 3-foot sword to make immortal achievements. Although he is a weak scholar, how can he be willing to be the younger generation? This shows a great ambition, and everyone present couldn't help but be shocked. Immediately, Li Ji arched his hand towards Liu Yan and said, "Ji, thank you to the governor for your concern. However, Ji and brother Xuanda share the same aspirations and have already made an agreement to break through thieves and save the people. How can they retreat due to greed for survival?" At this moment, Liu Yan looked at Li Ji with an almost undisguised appreciation. Just before talking to Liu Bei, Liu Yan intentionally or unintentionally asked about Li Ji's background. In addition, during his brief contact, Liu Yan was quite impressed by Li Ji's quick wit and eloquence, which led to his desire to bring Li Ji under his command. It's a pity that these talents will die with Liu Bei. If they don't belong to my command, it might be a help. With this idea in mind, Liu Yan would invite Li Ji through the matter of fish scales and armor. Even the reason why there were only 3 sets of fish scale armor in the treasury was secretly arranged by Liu Yan, in order to use the strategy of killing 3 soldiers with 2 peaches to trigger a conflict between the brothers Li Ji and Liu Bei. However, what Liu Yan did not expect was that Liu Bei's virtue had reached this point, let alone that Li Ji also had such aspirations. After a slight hesitation, Liu Yan solemnly invited him. "Mr. Zikun has great ambitions, but there is still a shortage of staff in my mansion. Can you kindly request Mr. Zikun to take on the position?" Li Ji's heart stirred slightly, and a moment of hesitation arose. The chaotic times are approaching, and the future is relatively uncertain compared to following Liu Bei. If you want to have a stable life, it is undoubtedly a good choice to follow Liu Yan to Izhou in the future. However, in the next moment, Li Ji suppressed this thought. If Liu Yan had invited him so much before meeting Liu Bei, Li Ji might have really been tempted. After all, he first assisted Liu Yan in taking control of Izhou and established his reputation and prestige. When Liu Yan's son Liu Zhang succeeded as the governor of Izhou, with a personality similar to that of Liu Chan, as long as Li Ji gained enough trust from Liu Zhang, there was always a possibility of using the pendant Liu Zhang to devour the world with the kingdom of abundance. End of this chapter.